gallon water heater installed for just $1,195 for standard installation, or a 50-gallon heater for $1,295 standard installation. A proud new sponsor of AM 560, CenterGuard is offering specials on new water heaters. Don't wait. The cold temperatures are coming, and the same can happen to your water heater. If you're having hot water issues or your water heater's over 8 years old, take advantage of this fall special today. CenterGuard Plumbing is Chicagoland's same-day water heater experts. Call before noon, and they can schedule your repair or install the same day on in-stock water heaters. They'll even haul away your old one, no charge. You're only a text away from install today. Call 847-406-8883. Mention AM 560 to receive fall special pricing. That's 847-406-8883. Call or text 847-406-8883 or visit CenterGuardPlumbing.com.
Did you know a will alone does not keep your family out of court when you die? The court still has to approve your will, but get a living trust, and your estate can be settled clearly without issue. Talk to the attorneys at Nauman & Associates. They prepare wills and trusts for a flat fee, no surprises, no hourly rate. With decades of experience, they know the law and offer a free consultation. Contact Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village, nalawgroup.com. Call 847-593-8777.
Don't get stuck with a cold shower this fall. Give CenterGuard Plumbing a call. Get a new 40-gallon water heater installed for just $1,195 for standard installation, or a 50-gallon heater for $1,295 standard installation. A proud new sponsor of AM 560, CenterGuard is offering specials on new water heaters. Don't wait. The cold temperatures are coming, and the same can happen to your water heater. If you're having hot water issues or your water heater's over 8 years old, take advantage of this fall special today. CenterGuard Plumbing is Chicagoland's same-day water heater experts. Call before noon, and they can schedule your repair or install the same day on in-stock water heaters. They'll even haul away your old one, no charge. You're only a text away from install today. Call 847-406-8883. Mention AM 560 to receive fall special pricing. That's 847-406-8883. Call or text 847-406-8883 or visit CenterGuardPlumbing.com.
Larry Elder hopes the world is listening.
They can't be doing what they're doing. They're buying oil and gas from Russia while they're fighting Russia.
Now, those of us backing Trump have heard this before, but I assure you there are lots of people in this country and around the world who've never heard this before. The damage done by Europe continuing to buy Russian oil, prolonging the war in Ukraine.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's October 8th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is World Octopus Day. The 8-legged mysterious creature is known for its intelligence, mobility, and beauty. Their lifespan is relatively short. On this day in 1871, the Great Chicago Fire begins in the O'Leary's barn. The 2-day blaze kills between 200 and 300 people, destroys 17,450 buildings, leaves 100,000 homeless, and causes an estimated $200 million in damage. Born on this day in 1985 in Honolulu, Hawaii, Peter Gene Hernandez.
It's my birthday. No, it's not. But I still look good, though.
Yes, that's Bruno Mars. Actor and comedian Chevy Chase, born in 1943. Of Vacation and Caddyshack fame.
We watch his program. Buy his toys. We go to his movies. He owes us. Doesn't he owe us? Huh? He owes the Griswolds, right?
I'm CJ Papa, and that's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
Hi, Dan Proft here. Data shows that boys make up more than 1/3 of those exploited in the sex trade. However, there are virtually no services available to male victims and survivors of trafficking and exploitation. They are often overlooked, ignored, and left without support. For 35 years, Emmaus has been on the front lines of an issue most of us can hardly imagine, helping men and boys in Chicago escape the nightmare of human trafficking and rebuild their lives. On Friday, November 1st, you're invited to attend an unforgettable evening at the Emmaus 35th Anniversary Gala at Fisherman's Inn in Elburn, Illinois. Together, they'll celebrate faith, freedom, and restoration with a beautifully catered dinner, an inspiring program, and a silent auction, all to support the mission of rescuing and restoring survivors. This is your chance to do something that truly matters. Reserve your seat today, or if you can't attend, make a life-changing donation at streets.org. That's streets.org. Emmaus is restoring lives. Let's help them keep going. Visit streets.org.
Be prepared for tax changes in 2025. Without a solid strategy, you could risk losing more of your hard-earned savings than necessary. VestGen Wealth Partners can help develop proactive tax plans designed to help keep more money in your pockets. Visit GetRetiredStayRetired.com for a free review.
Advisory services offered through VestGen Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Private Client Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Private Client Services and VestGen Advisors, LLC are unaffiliated entities. Any information discussed does not constitute investment advice. VestGen Advisors and Private Client Services do not offer tax legal advice.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at TruePowerGenerator.com. That's TruePowerGenerator.com. Plus, 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty. Terms and conditions apply. Call for details. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
This is Alistair Begg, inviting you to sail with me next September 5th through the 12th, 2026, on the Deeper Faith Norwegian Fjords cruise. If you've never been to this picturesque part of the world, the sights are magnificent, and the glacier-carved cliffs demonstrate the grandeur of God's creative handiwork. Throughout the journey, I'll be teaching from the Bible. Together we'll learn from the Scriptures, enjoy a week of fellowship and worship, and stop at several ports, where we'll stroll through quaint Nordic villages. This is an opportunity to explore scenes you won't soon forget, all while forming new friendships with fellow believers from around the world. Cabins are limited, so call today at 855-565-5519 or visit deeperfaithcruise.com. 855-565-5519 or visit deeperfaithcruise.com. I hope to see you on board.
Book today at 560theanswer.com/deeperfaith.
Let's see, if something costs less, a lot less, but people are actually happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard joining MediShare can save you or your family up to $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true. People are just happier with it. They love being part of something that reflects and promotes their values and what they believe in. MediShare works, too. It's been around for 30 years now, and members have shared more than $7 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network, so yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care, whether you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan that you're happy with. Here you go. You can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. It's 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
It was a typical day. You were doing the usual, but then you met up with a friend at Weinstock Market and Lounge in Woodstock. Wow! The small-town charm and turn-of-the-century building set the tone for a classic outing. Their charcuterie pleased your palate like you never imagined. The Chicago beef sandwich made your taste buds dance. And the hand-selected wines from small vineyards around the world, so perfect. All paired with amazing live music. Weinstock Market and Lounge changes your day from ordinary to extraordinary.
Weinstock Market and Lounge, voted McHenry County's best wine shop and best of Fox 2 years in a row. Open Tuesday through Saturday, 3 p.m. till 11 p.m. Live music on weekends. Open mic nights on Tuesdays. Enjoy the fresh baked pizza and Chicago beef sandwiches. Wine favorites from Italy, New Zealand, France, and California. And a full menu of handcrafted cocktails. Plan a trip to Weinstock Market and Lounge on the square in downtown Woodstock. Mention AM 560 and receive 10% off any purchase.
President Trump has made some pretty amazing claims since he's taken his seat as president. He's delivering on what he promised. On Inauguration Day, Trump's very first declaration was,
"The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish."
Consider this. Since the election, gold has shot up hundreds of dollars per ounce, shattering all-time record highs. Fox Valley Coins does not pretend to know the future, but they do know that if you're buying or selling gold or silver, they are the place to do it. These are some of the top reasons people choose a dealer. You want a national dealer with a local presence you can deal with face-to-face. You want a large selection, the best prices, and great service. You want to walk in with cash and walk out with the best product. You want to deal with legacy dealers with integrity. Whether buying or selling or just want valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your answer for choosing a dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Fellow patriots, our neighbors in Manteno are under attack. Governor Pritzker handed over $536 million of your tax dollars to Goshen, a company affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party and under congressional investigation. Now Goshen wants to use toxic chemicals near family homes. But the concerned citizens of Manteno are fighting back in court, and they need our help. Join us Tuesday, October 28th at Olympia Fields Country Club for an evening with Gordon Chang, a leading expert on China's threat to America. Cocktails at 6, dinner at 7. Every dollar raised goes directly to their legal battle against the CCP-affiliated Goshen. Get your tickets now at breakthrough-ideas.com. Learn more at our Dump Goshen webpage. This is our fight, Illinois. American taxpayers shouldn't fund Communist China's expansion onto American soil. Get involved today. Breakthrough Ideas and the Coalition for a Prosperous America are sponsoring this event and standing with concerned citizens everywhere.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Anthony and John here from Bionic Auto Parts, proud clients of Signature Bank. We deliver high-quality, recycled and remanufactured auto parts to Chicago and Milwaukee. Our mission is simple: provide parts safely, reliably, with great customer satisfaction.
We process over 350 vehicles a month. With big banks, everything took forever. Layers of approvals and endless delays. At Signature Bank, one call got it done. Whether it's lending, deposits, or treasury management, they deliver fast. Signature Bank made us feel like family. That's a partnership we deeply appreciate.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. A major U.S. ally dedicated to religious pluralism and social and civil rights like few others was victim to one of the most major and gruesome terrorist attacks recorded. That attack came from a movement of bloodlust and an ideology mortally opposed to social and civil rights. On the 2-year commemoration of that attack, college students and adults alike protested on behalf of the terrorist movement. The ally, Israel. The terrorists, Hamas. And from campuses to the streets, massive rallies using Hamas insignia and propaganda marched for Hamas. Only 2 years after the slaughter of innocents, where over 50 Americans were killed and taken hostage, it's difficult to understand such sympathy for the devil on our campuses and in major cities. But then again, 2 years ago, a major poll showed 30% of Gen Z thought Osama bin Laden was a force for good. Treating any of this as an education issue is wrong. Such sympathies for the demonic are not education problems. They reveal a massive moral crisis.
Perhaps you're a collector. Or perhaps, all of a sudden, you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donley Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donley Auctions with their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions. They have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonleyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donley does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donley has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donley Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donley Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonleyAuctions.com.
The Dinesh D'Souza Podcast.
This is the important thing to recognize about Trump is he's a very transactional guy. Trump will impose a penalty, and if you come to him and say, well, let's make a deal. This is the actual opposite of socialism. This is called cutting a deal to make something work. And I think that's all that goes through Trump's mind.
Subscribe to the Dinesh D'Souza Podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com. Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will feature brilliant sunshine with the high of 64. Tonight will be clear with a low of 46. Tomorrow, expect abundant sunshine and a high of 65. On Friday, we'll see some sun before it turns cloudy with a high of 68. Saturday will bring sunshine with a high of 68. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, Governor Spalding, a.k.a. Jelly Belly, a.k.a. Pritzker. I mean, he is a risible figure. He's a cartoon. One-dimensional, cardboard cutout, typical politician. But he does deserve special treatment, and he's starting to get it. I know he wants it. I know he thinks that this positioning helps him with an eye towards his reelection and then towards 2028. But he's starting to get attention, and it began with the State of the State address that he gave this year, back in the winter, where he made a comparison to President Trump and the Trump administration that he's essentially been making ever since. And he made it again yesterday in the wake of all of this discussion about the deployment of the National Guard to Chicago, which is now happening. You know, Texas National Guardsmen making landfall in Elwood yesterday. We'll get to that. But first on Pritzker and this comparison that he's been making since his State of the State. Auditioned it then. The new Marxist Party faithful seemed to like it, so he stuck with it.
What we're talking about is authoritarianism. We could have talked about Pol Pot. We could have talked about authoritarians across history. I chose something I know very well. I helped to build a Holocaust museum. And what I know is in the early days of the Nazi regime, they started slowly but surely taking away people's rights. And what we're seeing now is the very same thing. They've gone into cities now with the military. Think about that. In your lifetime, have you ever seen anything like that, where the President of the United States is sending military or troops dressed as military, ICE and CBP, in camouflage with automatic weapons into our major cities? It's wrong. And indeed, especially at a time when it's the President of the United States who's causing the mayhem on the ground. We've actually done very well in Chicago bringing down crime, addressing the needs of victims. He's the one taking funding away from law enforcement, taking funding away from victims, taking money away from community violence intervention. I mean, who is it here that's standing up for the rights of our people? Isn't it those of us who are actually protecting the people of Illinois and not the President of the United States, who's got an entire playbook for how he's going to win the 2026 elections by militarizing U.S. cities?
So setting aside the conspiracy theory that this is all a run-up for him seizing ballot boxes next year and rigging the 2026 election, the kind of evidence-free conspiracy theory that would relegate you to the status of crackpot normally, but not in that party and not with that party's media in tow. But just the Nazi comparison over and over and over again. It really is shameful. And it wasn't me just saying it. It's not just me saying it now. It wasn't just me saying it back then when he first rolled it out at the State of the State address. Jerry Wartsky, a Holocaust survivor, what Pritzker says is mentally sick. The fact that he said this, especially as a Jew, is an affront to all Holocaust survivors. It hurts. And there have been a few who've been willing to call out this grotesque Nazi comparison to domestic politicians in this country, over which there are disagreements about how to make big cities safe, how to enforce or not, whether to enforce or not enforce immigration law, and if you decide to do it, how you go about it, particularly after it went unenforced for so long. disagreements over that, and immediately the specter of the Nazis. And don't just say, he doesn't get away with just saying, well, I'm just making a sort of a historical comparison. I'm not saying he's interested in the genocide of the Jews or anything like that. But at the same time, when he makes this comparison, he references, how he was instrumental in building the Holocaust Museum in Skokie, covering his bases. It is really, on the order of what Jay Jones, the Democrat candidate for Attorney General in Virginia, got caught texting that has now been revealed and has led to the FOP there calling for his resignation and his sort of public rebuke and necessitating a public apology, even as, of course, no one in his own party has called for him to step down because there's 4 weeks to go before the election in Virginia, and we don't want to concede defeat under any circumstances. So we'll roll with this guy and see if we can't figure a way for him to get across the finish line. In these times, if we demagogue Trump strongly enough, maybe we can get away with him and he can get away with it. But I mean, this has to be challenged in terms of people's sensibility. I'm talking about in this state, in this city, in this state. I mean, J.B. Pritzker is saying that about President Trump and, by extension, Trump supporters, because when they are attacking Trump, they are attacking Trump voters. Some pretend to make a distinction, but it is disingenuous. At the same time, that's the sort of thing J.B. Pritzker is saying, and on the 2-year anniversary of October 7th, nonetheless. Marco Rubio, on that same 2-year anniversary of October 7th, was speaking with the families of 10/7 victims, including 10/7 families who have a family member that is still one of the 20 hostages in captivity in Gaza.
There is no CNN bureau in a tunnel in Gaza, where there are no reporters down there giving coverage to the fact that even as we speak, not only are 28 deceased hostages still being held cruelly for no reason other than to torture, but 20 are alive and living in horrific conditions, which the world doesn't see because there is no coverage. The only way the world sees, the only way the world hears about the conditions of those 20 living hostages is you. You are the cameras in the tunnel. You are the voice that has not allowed the world to forget. And you have inspired us. And in particular, I want you to know, and perhaps it comes across in the media coverage, and maybe it does not, how much you have impacted the President of the United States. In every instance that he has been asked about the future of what should happen, he always begins or ends by saying, everyone needs to remember what happened on October 7th.
And you have at least some of those families calling for President Trump to win the Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts to not only get hostages out of captivity, but to bring a cessation of hostilities in that region of the world. And here you have a governor hiding behind his Jewish identity, saying the most base, disgusting things to try to position himself for his presidential, in service of his presidential ambitions. And nobody calls him out on it. This just becomes, you want to talk about, as I tweeted over the weekend, you want to talk about destroyers of norms when it comes to rhetoric, and nothing, no backdrop and no calls for, improving the civility of our political dialogue and so forth. They don't register with Pritzker, although he's certainly happy to join the chorus of those suggesting that that's the order of the day. Will not be applicable to him, clearly. That has to be challenged. I think at some point we need to step back a little bit and listen to what people are saying, the claims that they're making, the accusations that they are lodging, and say, is this a person that should be in any position of authority? That's what some Virginia voters are having to question, at least about their attorney general. I think a lot of Illinois voters should be questioning that about their governor. Coming up at 5:38, we'll turn our attention to the substance of the matter, the National Guard in Chicago, and when and how they will be deployed, as well as a pointed exchange between, speaking of attorney generals, the United States is one, that would be Pam Bondi, and our very own outgoing Senator Sack of Durban. That's at 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 64 degrees in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Part of the National Guard troops that were deployed here in Illinois have arrived amid immigration enforcement operations. Fox's Mike Tobin reports.
The Texas National Guard has arrived southwest of Chicago at an Army training facility near the city of Joliet, despite emotional opposition from Chicago leadership.
DHS agents were targeted in a car attack over the weekend. One of the two suspects was carrying a firearm and had a history of doxing federal agents. Federal health officials have issued a public health alert for certain HelloFresh subscription meals that contain spinach, which may be contaminated with listeria. The U.S. Agriculture Department has warned people not to eat HelloFresh ready-made meals, cheesy pulled pork pepper pasta, and unstuffed peppers with ground turkey. This news report is sponsored by Blindstir.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now...
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th in Weston, Chicago, Northwest, and Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Lutheran Life Communities, Virago, and by Senior Helpers of Naperville.
Sean Thompson here, and I'm with the team from Access One, the founder and chairman, Mark Joswiak, and vice president, Enzo Scafidi. We're talking about how Access One can help business with their IT challenges. So let me ask you this. What are the most common IT challenges you see businesses facing right now, and how does Access One help to solve them?
Some common challenges that businesses, especially, customers of ours face is obviously security. Security is the number one thing on the forefront that businesses struggle with. They have a hard time choosing which services, which products, and how to implement them, how to design them, and how to train their staff to use them. Making sure that they're up to speed on everything and understand how the technology is supposed to work is probably the biggest challenge, because it all starts at the human level. If you fail at that level, the rest of it doesn't matter.
If your business needs help with managed IT, cybersecurity, or voice technologies, you need to contact the team at Access One. Learn more at access1inc.com. That's access1inc.com. Or call them directly today at 1-800-804-8333.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. Ever wonder why Big Wireless wants you on unlimited plan? They probably want you to cover the cost of those 20-somethings using all that data every month. But most people 50 and up like me only use 12 gigs or less. Don't get bamboozled by Big Wireless. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Our plans start at just $20, and we use the same towers as the big guys. Join the millions who choose something better, because if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication on your accounts, report phishing, and update your software on all your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock not only alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information, but also fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. So stay smart, stay safe, and stay protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use the promo code BECK. Terms do apply.
Protect your liver and give it the support it deserves with Active Liver from New Nordic. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or at newnordicusa.com.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will bring brilliant sunshine with a high of 64. Tonight, expect clear skies with a low of 46. Tomorrow will offer abundant sunshine and a high of 65. On Friday, anticipate some sun followed by increasing clouds, reaching a high of 68. Saturday will be sunny with a high of 68. I'm meteorologist Jason Catarina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by In the Know with Craig Bolanos, powered by VestGen Wealth Partners, Sunday morning at 10 on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, members of the Texas National Guard arrived at the Army Reserve Base Training Center in Elwood in Will County yesterday. It's not clear how and when they'll be deployed, but nonetheless drew the attention of Dick Durbin, who had the occasion to press Attorney General Pam Bondi on the issue, because she was before his, the committee on which he is the ranking member in the Senate yesterday. And this is how that went.
The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
Okay, then. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. I like the fact that Pam Bondi didn't let Durbin get away with his, reasonable tone of voice, masquerading the fact that he is a completely unreasonable, bitter partisan hack and has been for 3 decades in the Senate. Well, and before then in the House, and before then as a Paul Simon staffer. His entirety living off the government teat as that bitter partisan hack that I just described. That's exactly how Durbin should be spoken to, with complete candor. You might say lack of respect. I prefer it candor. I know who you are, and I know what you're about, and I know what you're trying to do, so let me put it between your eyes. And, frankly, that line, that is not original, but it is appropriate, is one that could be impressed upon many in Chicagoland. Do you love your community? Do you love Chicago and the surrounding area more than you hate Trump? Because I think the answer to that is quite unclear for many. It continued. Pam Bondi wasn't done pillaring the good senator.
Your city has a murder rate 5 times higher than New York's. 571 homicides last year. If you were serious about protecting your people, you would be asking this administration for help. You're saying that we're coming into your state and your city. We're there to help make America safe and Illinois safe, whether or not you want to.
The Tribune, amazingly, the Tribune actually did a little bit of legwork. It's unlike them. Looked at the archives. 18 times the governor has activated the National Guard within Chicago over the state's glorious history. 2 times, both in the 19th century, involved a sitting president acting in coordination with the governor. That was the Pullman, there was strikes, industrialists versus workers, the Pullman strike of 1894, railroad strike of 1877. But there have been many other instances where the National Guard has been activated. Not one that they could identify in which the National Guard has been activated in against the wishes of the governor. And so it's always described as this is unprecedented because the governor is not working with getting the acquiescence of the president is not working with getting the acquiescence of the governor. But that works in both directions, doesn't it? I mean, rather than arguing about the governor or the president as the first mover here, the predicate question is what's important. Is that a necessary and appropriate use of public safety resources we have given the situation on the ground in Chicago? And I know that they're saying that the allegations of endemic violence in the city is a manufactured crisis, manufactured by Trump, and that the unrest is being instigated by federal law enforcement, not the local population, including the local population that's part of the orchestrated professional agitator class that the left underwrites. But I would contend that the evidence doesn't support the claim that the Pritzkers and the Johnsons, the JBs and the BJs are making. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Greg in Rogers Park.
Morning, Dad. First of all, here in Rogers Park, if I want to come up here between Howard and Juneway on Polana, there's plenty of scum to be picked up. There's plenty of people for ICE to pick up. I hope they come up here and start rounding them up because we got plenty of them here. Two, I am really enjoying the fact that Trump's cabinet people push back against these terrible, undignified Democrats. It's about time. We shouldn't be afraid of these people. We should tell them exactly what they are. And, we shouldn't be afraid to push back against them because far too long, I think we've been afraid to say something not politically correct. And I think it's refreshing to see it.
Thanks for the call, Greg. And, again, I don't want to conflate the issues. You're talking about, on the one hand, domestic crime, which has long plagued Chicago. And then the overlay, of course, is the the situation being exacerbated by people in this country illegally, some percentage of whom have also contributed to the endemic crime. And it is in the area of federal law enforcement, immigration law enforcement, which is federal law enforcement, that the National Guard is more appropriate, and particularly given the stand-down order that was issued over the weekend, in which CPD did not respond to federal law enforcement that had requested assistance, makes a pretty compelling case for the president to say, look, I'm deploying the National Guardsmen to protect federal law enforcement in furtherance of the enforcement of federal laws. That's it. We're not going to set up a cold case squad to try to solve murders in the city, murders committed by residents of the city of Chicago, citizens and residents of the city of Chicago. We're not going to interfere with what the Chicago police does. We're focused on our mission, which is immigration law enforcement, federal law enforcement. Federal law enforcement needs the backup. This is why the National Guard is there. I think it's a pretty strong argument. And it's not one that is unprecedented either. We'll get to that in a second. Greg Abbott, this long-running feud between Greg Abbott and the power structure in this state, Texas governor, of course, had this to say in defense of his volunteering Texas National Guardsmen to make the trip up north.
So it's politics. They're caving to the progressive left. You've seen Gavin Newsom. You've seen Hochul in New York. You now see the governor of Illinois. They're going along the leftist line because they're hoping to be first in line when it comes to the Democrat nomination for the presidency. But it doesn't matter which one of them may be the winner of that nomination because they are utter failures for our country, and they will be revealed as such. Yeah, we should.
Yeah, I think still that's news to at least half the population in Illinois, somewhat shockingly, but I think that's the case. Clearly, Pritzker in particular, I don't, BLM Brandon is such an ideologue, such a apparatchik, that I don't know that he's even aware of his actual standing within the electorate in Chicago. But Pritzker always is, because that's what this is about. So clearly he believes that there is no level of violence. There is no depth of vitriolic to which he will sink in terms of vitriolic political rhetoric that will do anything other than buoy his political chances. He clearly believes that, and I assume he's got polling that suggests that, which suggests something about your neighbors, and maybe listeners hearing this would want to explore that, to see if, and I'd be interested to hear too, if there's been any movement on Pritzker within your circles from people who had previously supported him based on how he's handling the situation. He clearly thinks that politically this is the best way to do it, that this is the most advantageous position for him to take, which is to oppose removing people from the city and the state who are here illegally, even repeat violent offenders, and to instead focus his ire on ICE and Trump demonizing both, making the terrorist and Nazi comparisons, that this is what the people of Illinois want, or at least enough of them to reelect him and send him on his way to run for president in 28. That's clearly what he believes. I would suggest that with the right opposition, he is overplaying his hand, but that may be the landscape right now. I think it's not stable ground on which he is standing, but it may be where the numbers back this play that he's making. I haven't, surveyed the matter in a while, so I don't know exactly, but I bet he does. And what kind of commentary is that on Illinois? That's the thing I want people to think about, too. When you get so upset about hearing J.B. Pritzker or Brandon Johnson, but particularly Pritzker, talk about federal law enforcement, talk about the Trump administration and Trump voters by extension, keep this in the back of your mind. A majority of Illinois is probably nodding their heads and saying, "You go, girl." In point of fact, I heard a story from a friend of mine the other day that she was in Monami B in Lincoln Park, and there was a bit of a, tussle, just in terms of people, like there was noise, people milling about, and so on and so forth. She's like, "What's going on?" Pritzker had walked into the restaurant. I hope they didn't run out of the steak frites. And he walked into the restaurant at Lincoln Park, bunch of honkies, to applause. So, consider that. Think about that. Hope maybe that'll inform some of the conversations you have within said circles. Juan on the South Side, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, morning, Dan. Thanks for taking the call. I was curious of your opinion. When I heard that they pulled those police off those calls, I immediately thought, man, now President Trump's definitely going to bring the National Guard in here. And then I started thinking, like, maybe that was their plan, to have him bring the National Guard in here so they can continue to further the comparison to the Nazi regime and Hitler. But then I thought, like, well, if that was their plan, what's the next part of their desired plan to further this, this thought process of the Hitler, blah, blah, blah. So now what if there's once the National Guard gets put out there to assist in protecting our federal officers, and they engage the public again, and somebody gets hurt, like what then?
Right. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for people that they can call martyrs, people that were victimized, that they can say have been victimized, which is why they're making these generic references to, grade schools, separating families, zip tying children. I mean, they're not presenting any evidence of it, but to the extent they can, they can incite violence. They can incite some National Guardsman or ICE officer to cross the line and do something they shouldn't do, or characterize, or because right now they're just characterizing them as doing it. They don't have any evidence.
Right.
But if they could get a case, they could instigate somebody to lose their head and do something ill-considered, then they would have the cause célèbre they want to justify all the rhetoric in their minds and rhetorically justify all the rhetoric that they have been spewing for these many months. That's what they want. Sure, of course they want violence.
And then the other thing, did we ever get an answer as to who was responsible for making this, the decision to pull them off, the police officers off?
Well, we didn't. Thanks for the call, Juan. We have the FOP. It may take a no confidence vote on the chief of patrol, John Hein. I guess they didn't want to take that up to the chief, the chief of police, superintendent, Larry Snelling. He sort of made reference, in his press conference the other day, as we discussed yesterday, that it was Hein that made the call. Maybe he sort of chalked it up to some miscommunication that doesn't really wash. I mean, there are some questions that need to be answered. We're waiting for the after action report to give us some detail of what the superintendent says he understands as to the chain of events that led to the decisions that were made and the stand down order, which he has not conceded was a stand down order, even though it was. So sort of my instinct was we would get like whoever immediately made the call, John Hine, the chief of patrol. He was mentioned at the press conference. Okay, so he's going to be the fall guy. And maybe he is the fall guy. Maybe he made that of his own volition. But you're telling me that he didn't communicate with Snelling or didn't get communication from Snelling or didn't get communication from the fifth floor? Maybe he just, as I said with Eddie Johnson yesterday, maybe he just sort of knew what the political position was of the power structure and so just acted in furtherance of it, didn't need instruction. It's possible. Seems unlikely that he wouldn't want to double check that before he made that call in such a sensitive situation with federal law enforcement. But my sense is we're going to get John Hine takes the hit. It's chalked up to miscommunication and everybody gets back to the way they were doing things. That's my sense of what's going to happen. I'm happy to be proven wrong and or surprised with something approximating full disclosure and real consequences. But full disclosure and real consequences, are those phrases that you think of when you think of the city of Chicago? Honestly. Marty in Naperville.
Good morning, Dan. First of all, we're never going to find out where the chain of command stops. It's just going to be past the buck, blah, blah, blah. Number two, example, what you said, him walking into that place and what did you say, and everybody applauding him. Family, my wife's family, 18-2 against us. They think Pritzker is the greatest thing. He will be the greatest president, and anything negative that is brought by him is made up by Fox.
Why do they think he's so great? What is it that they love most about him?
Here's their answer. Because he's not Trump.
Exactly. Well, that's my point.
Answer.
Yeah,
they
that's my
point. No answer to anything, Dan. None.
That's my point. Thanks for the call, Marty. I mean, that's my point. That's what he is. That's what the card that he is playing, the market position he wants to occupy, because he believes that will be enough. And he may be right. Good people have to do something about that to inform the ill-informed, or to at least challenge them. George and Mantino.
Yeah, I was just going to comment on if Pritzker would come into a restaurant in Tino and see how his reception would be as opposed to his reception in Lincoln Park. It would be complete opposite.
Yeah. Well, right. Thanks for the call, George. Outside of Chicagoland, there's this state called Illinois. No, I get it. But the problem is, of course, north of I-80 is where 60% of the people live. So you're going to have to, Lincoln Park is not mission critical, but that Lincoln Park mentality, or the Marty from Naperville, his family members out in the suburbs, that mentality in the suburbs is a real problem. It has to be addressed. People have to be challenged rhetorically. They have to be, challenged. Yeah. Peacefully, obviously, but challenged with information and arguments and maybe a little bit of shaming when it comes to these relentless Nazi comparisons and other, again, lowbrow rhetoric. Lowbrow is generous. They're, perhaps words that they prefer, vile and spiteful, grotesque rhetoric. The kind of adjectives they use to describe Trump are appropriate for the rhetoric that we hear from Pritzker. Right? Or you think those comparisons are perfectly on point? And you're so educated, and you're so informed, and you're so thoughtful, and you're so independent minded. Well, if you're going to give anyone a pass on the antics of J.B. Pritzker, well, then you're none of those things. So go ahead, but just know that I know that you're none of those things, and I'll be continuing to make the case about you and about him as I move along. All right. Have a nice day. Phil in Maryville.
Hey, good morning. Why isn't anybody talking about the census in 2030? I think that's one of the biggest issues, because all these electoral college votes are based off the House seats, and the illegals are counted in the population in the census.
They are for now.
They all went to all the blue states and the blue cities. So if you have 15 to 20 million illegals that are in this country, I think each blue state's going to have a massive boost in House seats and electoral college votes.
Thanks for the call, Phil. It's an issue. It's an issue we've discussed many times. It's the backfilling the people who have fled blue states for red states. Well, why did Illinois lose a congressional seat? Probably should have lost 2. New York lose a congressional seat. Probably should have lost 2. California lose 2 congressional seats. Probably should have lost 3. People are fleeing those states like they're on fire, because on some days they literally are. So this is to backfill. And this is one of the reasons they're so opposed to removing anybody. They have to mouth the words of course, people who pose public safety or national security threats, but they really don't care. As that one New York congresswoman, what's her name? Yvette Clarke? I'm going from memory. I think so. She said it out loud. We need these undocumented here for our congressional districts, for remapping, to backfill the population we've lost. Yes, of course that's part of it. And so what do? They come up with conspiracy theories like Pritzker has been peddling, that it's Trump who is going to militarize the cities as the lead-in to militarizing the elections, federal law enforcement seizing ballot boxes, cats and dogs living together, total anarchy. Yeah. Mike's outside.
Hey, morning, Dan. Thanks for taking the call. You're saying try to have civil discourse with these people, but how do you rationally talk to somebody who legitimately believes that a man can give birth to a child? I mean, it's not even possible.
Well, I get it. Thanks for the call, Mike. Not everybody is reachable. I get it. So, yeah. You want to argue that men can give birth. You want to argue that Trump is Hitler and that his aim is, or Pol Pot, another comparison, or Stalin, and that there'll be concentration camps and purges on the order of the Khmer Rouge, the killing fields of Chicago and Illinois. Well, then, yeah, you're not going to have a serious conversation with that person. That person is not gettable. But there are people who are woefully uninformed who are gettable. So, it's the problem is it's sort of person-to-person intellectual combat. There's no sort of mass solution to this where there's going to be an epiphany among thousands or hundreds of thousands of Illinoisans overnight. That's why I always say it's not glamorous. It's not turnkey. It's the one-on-one interactions within your circles of influence, people who know you and who you have a relationship with, and you impressing upon them that their views are wrong-headed when they demonstrably are, and say, have you read this? Have you seen that? It's being essentially a ward healer, but within your circle of influence, through social media, through personal interaction, however. All right, we'll continue this conversation. There's a couple more points on this National Guard matter that we need to get to, and we will do that at 6:06. It is now 6 a.m. on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
The Trump administration is on deadline today. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. To tell a federal judge where the National Guard would be sent in Illinois and what their mission would be as the state's top attorney general tries to stop the president in court. Troops sent from Texas arrived yesterday.
This president is determined to federalize the National Guard and to occupy our cities with the military. It's unconscionable. It's unthinkable.
That's Democratic Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, who's established ice-free zones in his city. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche tells Fox that shields people here illegally.
And you have men out there in gangs putting on people's heads. They put a price on ICE leaders' heads for their capture or kill.
A gang member arrested for threatening the Border Patrol chief made his first federal court appearance yesterday. Today, James Comey goes to federal court in Virginia. The FBI director President Trump fired in 2017 will be arraigned on 2 charges, including lying to Congress related to the investigation into Russia's 2016 election interference.
Now, this largely stems from an exchange Comey had with Senator Ted Cruz at a 2020 Senate Judiciary hearing when Cruz asked Comey if he had authorized someone at the FBI to be an anonymous source to leak information to the media. Comey denied the accusation at the time.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson. The Senate plans another funding vote this morning, but if the stalemate continues, so will the government shutdown. It's day 8, and President Trump suggesting some furloughed federal employees may not get back pay once there's funding.
For the most part, we're going to take care of our people. There are some people that really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way.
They handed out the Nobel Prize for Chemistry this morning. It's being shared by 3 scientists, one in the U.S.
The Nobel is for their work developing metal organic frameworks that have enormous potential, the Nobel Committee says, for custom-made materials with new functions, like harvesting water from desert air, capturing carbon dioxide, and storing toxic gases.
That's Fox's Chris Foster. The Nobel Peace Prize goes out Friday. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 64 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keenan in the AM 560 newsroom. The Texas National Guard has been deployed here in the Chicagoland area. Fox's Mike Tobin is in Broadview with the latest.
We've spotted them at the National Guard training facility very near Joliet, southwest of the city. This comes after weeks of threats from President Trump to deploy the National Guard. Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who supports Trump's immigration crackdown, posted pictures of the Guard loading on an aircraft for deployment. Now, the Illinois National Guard is still in motion, despite efforts by Democrats to stop them. The Illinois Attorney General requested an immediate injunction to block the deployment of the Illinois Guard, but U.S. District Judge April Perry denied that request for the immediate injunction anyway. She gave Trump lawyers until tomorrow to answer questions about where the Guard will go, when they will go, and what will they do once they get there.
President Trump says he might consider invoking the Insurrection Act of 1807, which would give him constitutional authority to deploy militia to quell violent protests. A U.S. Marine Corps veteran from Illinois is due home today after being detained by the Israeli Navy. Jessica Klopfelter is one of nearly 500 people who were part of a flotilla that was delivering aid to Gaza. Representatives for Klopfelter say she was not harmed during that ordeal. Governor J.B. Pritzker has joined Illinois congressional Democrats and several state and local officials to condemn what the governor is calling the Trump administration's illegal freeze of $2.1 billion in federal taxpayer funding for the Chicago Transit Authority projects. Now, one of those projects affected by the federal review is the CTA Red Line extension, which has an estimated cost of $5.75 billion for 5.5 miles of track. This news update is quickly delivered by Quick Delivery Service. For reliable same-day delivery, Quick Delivery will customize a logistics plan to pick up your items and move them safely to their destination. Trust their 40 years of experience for peace of mind. Get a quote at quickdelivery.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Hugh Hewitt says we'll see a turn to the church.
The Secretary of State, the Vice President, Erica Kirk, all hit messages of salvation history. I think it will have a massive impact, but I'm begging the ministers of word, whatever your denomination, to preach openly and welcomingly to the people who come.
The Hugh Hewitt Show, afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
If you or someone you love are getting high quotes for dental implants, visit almostfreeteeth.com today. With a medical PPO insurance plan, it's possible to save 90% off on average to be able to smile again. Check if you qualify now at almostfreeteeth.com.
Making the switch to a new communications and IT company may seem like a big ordeal, but if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs, meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore, Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run, a trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. We'll make the switch easier than you think. Let's talk. Call 800-804-8333 or visit accessoneInc.com. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. That's accessoneInc.com. Tech made personal locally.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion. That's billion with a B. Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words Micro. That's pound 250, Micro.
Surprise! Your expenses this month were way higher than you expected! Also, you forgot to renew your website domain and now you're in a bidding war!
You should see the look on your face!
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Plus, the fridge died in the break room and now everything smells weird!
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Hey, I'm Brant, and her name is Sherry.
Hello.
She's a friend of mine whom we were just praying for because of a surgery she just went through.
Yes, and I am very happy about something you actually talk about all the time, which is
Medi-Share.
That is right.
Yeah. So what was your experience like with Medi-Share and the healthcare bills?
Honestly, Brant, seamless. And what a blessing that is when you're already nervous about a health issue, which I was.
Yeah.
Members shared my expenses. There were zero problems. And let me tell you, having people pray with you when you call in with your need, that is just...
It is refreshing.
Yes, that's what it is.
What I keep telling people. People love Medi-Share, and they love saving tons of money, too. The typical family can save $500 a month.
I am very thankful for Medi-Share. It is so different, and I mean different in a very, very good way.
It is good different. Call now. They're easy to talk to, and you can get a price within 2 minutes. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Inbound on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose looking good. It's 14 minutes. Outbound is 13. No problems on the Kennedy. Inbound from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange is 18 minutes. Outbound is 22. The Eisenhower also looks good. Inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 13 minutes. Outbound is 14. Inbound Stevenson, no delays from the Tri-State to Lakeshore. That's 20 minutes. Outbound is 16. And the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne Interchange is 14. Outbound is 10. Now it is slow on the Bishop Ford inbound between 130th Street and 115th Street because of an accident taking them 2 right lanes at 115th. Now there's another collision slowing you down on the Tri-State. This is on the northbound side just south of Lake Cook Road. Traffic is a service of AM 560 Podcast. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will feature brilliant sunshine with the high of 64. Tonight will be clear with a low of 46. Tomorrow, expect abundant sunshine and a high of 65. On Friday, we'll see some sun before it turns cloudy with a high of 68. Saturday will bring sunshine with a high of 68. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment brought to you by Unleash Your Wealth with Raj Shah and Rick Borick this Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. Learn more at scwealthadvisors.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. We were talking end of last hour in the context of ICE in Chicago, now the National Guard in Chicago, and at the training center in Elwood, preparing for activation, ostensibly to back the play of ICE in Chicago. You know, pending the litigation that is pending the complaint that Pritzker filed in federal court to try to block Trump from deploying the National Guard in Chicago and in Illinois generally. So these are pending matters. But since we've got everybody's attention, what should we be doing with it? As we were discussing, trying to provide information that people are not going to get through the echo chambers in which they otherwise reside. I'm talking about people within your circles of influence. Don't just say, hey, go listen to Proft or go watch Fox News. You're the person with the trust relationship. Why don't you give them something? And it would help, I must say, if DHS and ICE would do a better job of giving us all something so that we could disseminate it. They did last week, and I mentioned it. It's a good text. Give me one example. There's a few examples I want to go through. Good text from 847. Tom Homan should give Pritzker a public keep or toss choice on each of the illegal alien criminals, i.e. Bob Smith, rapist. Keep him or toss him. Yeah, I like that idea. We talked about the profiles on about a dozen or so individuals that have been apprehended by ICE as part of Operation Midway Blitz. Out of some 800 in the last, 5 weeks? Maybe not even. Month? 800. There should be a running ticker. This information needs to be widely disseminated to challenge, not just to inform, but also to challenge people that are out there repeating the mindless talking points they get from the zip-tying children, separating families, terrorists, Nazis, thugs. Cristobal Correas Messine from El Salvador, convicted of statutory rape, fraud, and aggravated felony, and pending charges of assault and failure to register as a sex offender. Yeah, keep him or toss him. Jelly Belly? Brandon? Durbin? Duckworth? Preckwinkle? A criminal illegal alien from Austria, just targeting non-whites, just terrorizing black and brown people. Criminal illegal alien from Austria, previously convicted of sexual assault, aggravated criminal sexual assault, aggravated criminal sexual abuse, numerous sexual predator in a public park offenses, child sex offender loitering in violation of the sex offender registry, currently charged with murder and rape or sexual abuse of a minor. Keep him or toss him. Governor? Mayor? Cook County Board President? Senator? What do you want to do? I mean, if I can provide, and I posted this on X, some of these snapshots. If I can do this, why can't you? Why can't everybody who's interested in moving public opinion in the direction of civilization? A criminal illegal alien from Mexico convicted of 2 counts of DUI, possession of meth, possession of drug paraphernalia, and felony carrying a handgun while in possession of meth. Keep him or toss him. Mayor of Broadview? Mayor of Waukegan? Can they come live with you? Governor? Mayor? Criminal illegal alien from Lithuania, Honky. Previously arrested for burglary, currently removal as he overstayed his visa that expired almost 10 years ago in 2016. Keep him or toss him. It's just a burglary. It's just overstaying a visa by 9 years. Again, where can we send him? Do you want to keep him or toss him? And put the same question to all of your sentimentalist neighbors and friends and fellow church congregants, and so forth. What is so difficult about that? This information is public. It's available. I'm at least trying to profile it, and boy, if it's just radiated out from this show, I know it's not. I know everybody in Illinois doesn't listen, and so forth. But if it's just radiated out by this show, there'd be at least some multiplier effect. The ripple in the water. When it comes to this unprecedented, that's just one example, the kind of communications you could have. When it comes down to this unprecedented deployment of the National Guard, and this is, the stuff of Nazi Germany, as Governor Pritzker would say and does say. As I mentioned yesterday, actually, it's the stuff of equal justice under the law. It's the stuff of equal protection under the law. That's what it is. American citizens are entitled to equal protection under the law, and that includes federal immigration law. So what you actually have with these sanctuary cities, in my opinion, is a 14th Amendment violation. But even beyond that, when has the National Guard been deployed like this? Well, Trump dug up. I mean, I mentioned, the Posse first of all, the 14th Amendment, 1866, the Posse Comitatus Act, a little more than a decade later. These were the idea of not allowing the military to occupy states was the idea of Confederates who wanted to continue either slavery or to allow the Ku Klux Klan to terrorize black people and Jews and Catholics and others, but mainly blacks. They didn't want the federal government meddling and enforcing the law against their illegal and inhumane conduct, and their friends engaged in illegal and inhumane conduct. Same goes of desegregation. Trump dug up a letter from the Kennedy administration. The provisions authorize the president, faced with unlawful obstruction against the authority of the United States as existed in Alabama, to call into federal service such of the militia of any state and use such of the armed forces as he considers necessary, and to use the militia or the armed forces or both. The militia of the United States includes the National Guard, meaning the Army National Guard and the Air National Guard. In furtherance of the President's order, the Secretary of Defense immediately called into active military service all of the units and members of the Army National Guard and Air National Guard of the state of Alabama to serve in the active military service of the United States for an indefinite period and until relieved by appropriate orders. This call was transmitted by the Secretary of Army, and so on and so forth. It's apparent that the Alabama National Guard was properly called into federal service pursuant to statutory reference in accordance with the procedure, and so on and so forth. Yeah, this was JFK moving to deploy troops against Alabama's segregationist governor, who physically blocked students from entering the University of Alabama, you'll remember. 1963 letter from the Kennedy administration. And so these Dixiecrats, modern-day Dixiecrats, like J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson, for as much as Brandon Johnson talks about wanting to, wage the Civil War, he doesn't even know whose side he's on. No, he's on the side of the segregationists. So is J.B. Pritzker. From the 19th century and the 20th century. Think about that. Share the letter. Since Trump was good enough to dig it up, maybe share that letter with friends. Maybe share these results from a coordinated federal response in Memphis that Marsha Blackburn, the senator from Tennessee, shared in committee yesterday.
We had 503 arrests with the FBI task force in July and August. We've added with your Memphis Safe Task Force just last week, 321 arrests, 83 firearms that were seized, 7 missing children that were recovered, 28 known gang members have been arrested. And the list continues to grow. We've also gotten over 120 federal indictments. But this is really quite a success story. And I think that cities like Portland and Chicago are missing out by not having this coordinated, focused effort. And the fact that there are 13 federal and state agencies working together to make Memphis safe again.
And, per the caller, a couple callers last hour, in terms of these Trump, TDS sufferers, particularly of the mildly educated who believe they are hyper-educated, honky variety in the suburbs, the Raffles, the Katie Porters of the world. You'll hear from her in a second. Well, that's probably not the best mission field. But where you saw a big delta between 2016 and, say, 2020 and 2024 in terms of Trump support, like minority families, lower to middle income families, to the extent you have people who fit that profile in your circles of influence, that seems to me a place where there's a lot of upside. People who are very pragmatic, not ideological, trying to make it or make it better, and are open-minded about things like this in terms of an understanding of what's actually happening. And you can provide some distinctions between what is being said and what the reality is. You can also deconstruct the rhetorical ruses that are employed by these individuals, like we saw in Waukegan. Here's another case study. Waukegan yesterday. The charismatic Brad Schneider. Ha ha. Does anybody even know who he is, including on the North Shore? Yeah, he's your congresshuman. The charismatic Brad Schneider. The mayor of Waukegan, Sam Cunningham is his name. A couple of legislators, a couple of business owners. What do? And this is done all the time because it works. So pull it apart. They purposely confuse the issue. They use the term immigrant families, immigrant business owners, without distinction between people who are here illegally and people who immigrated to this country legally and are immigrant families and immigrant business owners. Because there is not, and this needs to be communicated, there is not opposition to legal immigration. There is no animus to somebody who legally comes to this country from Mexico or El Salvador or anywhere else. We're all talking about, or solely talking about people in this country illegally. And, it focuses them on the rule of law and whether they think they can pick and choose which laws they want to follow or not, because most people will say no. And if you don't like the law, you need to work through the process to change it. Most people will say yes. But they do a good job of gaslighting people into believing there is no distinction. And so by implication, the Trump administration is making no distinction, which is why they're always trotting out this idea that the Trump administration is disappearing black and brown people, citizens and non-citizens alike. And that's not true. Sam Cunningham yesterday.
Good afternoon. As a black mayor, I want to be clear. This is not about a Latino issue. This is our issue. All of us. I want to take a few moments to speak directly to our residents, to the families, small businesses, and everyone who calls this community home. The recent immigration enforcement operations taking place in our city, in our region, have caused great fear and uncertainty. In times like these, Waukegan must remain calm, united, and focused on supporting one another.
What does that mean? So the rule of law is inoperable in Waukegan as it pertains to people who have uncertainty because they are operating outside of the law. Is that what you're saying? I mean, let's put meaning behind this flowery rhetoric. Nobody who's here legally has any uncertainty. And nobody who is here illegally should have any uncertainty either. They should understand they're here illegally, and they do. They know they did it wrong. Sorry. You did it wrong. And by the way, you had a chance to make it right by leaving and going through the process, but you chose not to do that either.
Many of our small businesses are owned and operated by immigrant families who contribute every single day to our local economy. They employ neighbors who serve our families and help Waukegan stronger. Now, more than ever, we must continue to support those businesses, eat locally, shop locally, and stand behind the people who make our city thrive.
So immigrant families own businesses and immigrant business owners and so forth. Again, that conflation I'm talking about. I know it's an obvious one, but it's not obvious to a lot of people. There are immigrant-owned businesses, people here legally, I'm sure, in Waukegan, and probably some by people not here legally. And I guess my question to Mayor Cunningham would be, so if I'm a business owner in Waukegan and I'm otherwise an American citizen, what law do I get to break where you'll stand behind me? Do I get a particular law, either a Waukegan ordinance or state law, where you'll stand behind me when I break it because I'm otherwise a business owner who's only committed this one offense? So I shouldn't have to pay any consequences for it because I've only committed this one offense and I'm otherwise legal and I employ people and I serve the community. So what one law do I get to break, Mayor Cunningham? Or is it any law? I can break one law and the community will rally together around me because it's just that one law I broke. But I'm a good person and I run a business and I hire people and I serve the community. So I get to break at least one law, right? Isn't that what he's saying? Well, we don't like it put that way, do we? Because we like the person who is here illegally but has a business. I get it. I don't dislike him. This isn't about like and dislike. This is about the law. And you have to drive people's attention back to the substance of the matter. And I got to tell you, for as vanilla as Brad Schneider is, for as boring as he's, I mean, this guy could bore the Roman numerals off a tombstone. He would, float away in a stiff wind. There's nothing holding this guy up or together. But the comparison that he made, wow. You want to talk about conflation? You haven't heard anything yet. Illegal immigrant business owners who are here legally, no difference. That's what they want you to take away. And Brad Schneider took it further.
We are all together, as was previously said. And it's notable that we stand here at a park dedicated to the memory of those who served our nation. I'm going to point out a couple of the squares. To my right is a square dedicated to Bill Bennett Sr., who lived 96 years serving in the United States Navy. Next to that is Timothy L. Wang, who served in the Army. On my left is Cesar R. Gonzalez, the United States Marine Corps. 3 squares in a plaza remembering those who heard the call to serve a nation made great by people from all over the world who came to a country that offered them a future.
I hope that's not lost on people. He's comparing people who came to this country legally and put on the uniform to fight for this country to people who are here illegally now. Maybe some engaged in productive behavior. Certainly we know many who are not. Our military heroes who came here legally, talking about World War II generation, mainly through Ellis Island. And that's the same as somebody hiding out in Waukegan trying to avoid ICE today, who may or may not have a business, who may or may not have committed other crimes. That's what they want you to believe. That's disgusting. And who will call Brad Schneider out in the North Shore or anywhere in this state or in the Chicago Press Corps? Nobody, right here. That's it. Those are the comparisons they wanted to get away with. And you can't let them. Dan in Salem, Wisconsin.
Dan, this is just a Marx-Leninist tactic that the communists used on the people, the public, to win them over. They lie and they lie and they lie until you believe it, until it becomes truth, right?
Yeah. Well, I know. Since we know what they're doing, we know what we need to do in response, and it's not sit idly by. Thanks for the call, Dan. That's my point. Corey in Woodlawn.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, Dan. You know, the biggest problem with what happened in 1877 is by them refusing to sit President Hayes and forcing him to remove federal troops as the negotiating tactic with Tilden. I forget their guy named I think it was Tilden. But when they refused to do that, and he removed those federal troops, that entered the darkest period for African Americans in this country when pianist laws were introduced in the South. So African Americans really need to educate themselves about these tactics that the Democrat Party is now using again to try to get these troops out of these neighborhoods. These neighborhoods have been bad for decades, and they refuse to address them. Now you've got a president that's tried his damnedest to address them, and the Democrat Party are using the same tactics that they used back then by sticking together and committing all of these crimes, to me, at the federal level. When you ignore federal law, you're teaching these people that have come here illegally to continue in ignoring federal laws and in local laws. They're not going to obey city ordinances. This is not going to happen. You teach them to flaunt federal law, they're going to disobey local laws as well.
Thanks for the call, Corey. Well said, as always. Coming up at 6:36, we will get to Katie Porter, former congresswoman now running for governor of California. Her meltdown over the question, how are you going to attract Trump voters? That's at 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 64 degrees in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. A U.S. Marine Corps veteran from Illinois is due home today after she was detained by the Israeli Navy. Jessica Klopfelter is one of nearly 500 people who were a part of a flotilla that was delivering aid to Gaza. Representatives for Klopfelter say she was not harmed during her ordeal. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker compared President Trump's crime crackdown here in Chicago to the Nazis' actions during World War II. Those comments came after the president authorized the deployment of the National Guard into our city. On Fox's The Story with Martha McCallum, senior counsel to the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Leo Terrell, says that rhetoric is inspiring violence.
They are inflaming people. Nazi talk, the president of the United States of America, the Nazi talk, this is what inflames the crazy left. And we have seen what the crazy left has done. They are looking for chaos.
News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a Blue Cross, Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th at Westin Chicago Northwest and Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Nauman and Associates, Scott Tucker Solutions Incorporated, and by Catholic Cemeteries of of Chicago.
If you need custom boxes and crates, expert packing and crating, import-export transloading with heavy lift capability, the DC Group delivers. It all started 51 years ago with DC Export and Domestic Packing, the hard work of founders Dominic and Carol Cochamiglio. Their family's desire to exceed customer expectations, backed by an incredible team and loyal customers, is now driving expansion. From their humble roots in a garage-sized building to 100,000 square feet in the Chicago area, 45,000 in Greenville, and a new Houston facility, they're coast to coast. And their sister company, DC Transport, handles everything from container drayage to super heavy haul loads across North America since 1991. Whether it's packing and crating, transloading, transportation service, or trade shows, the DC Group delivers. Those that attended FabTech 2025, we'd love to hear from you. Get your quote now at dcexport.com. That's dcexport.com, your trusted logistics partner.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Pluto TV.
Ooh, something smells good.
Let's see. Melt 2 sticks of butter and add sugar.
Ben, what are you doing?
I'm cooking Thanksgiving dinner.
What? It's way too early for that.
I know, Arvid, but I just can't wait to serve a big family meal on the Flay table from Penny Mustard.
Oh, I love the Flay table. The design is so sleek and simple, yet oh so perfect.
Mix in 2 cups of peanut butter and strained beets.
The Flay's strong Midwest craftsmanship means you'll be serving family feasts on this table for generations.
Half a cup of mayonnaise.
And it's expandable. So as your family grows, the Flay table grows too.
And just a dash of Tabasco.
Hold on. What recipe are you making?
Recipe? What's the recipe?
The American-made solid wood Flay table paired with 4 Kendall chairs with your choice of fabric or leather starting at $68.71 at Penny Mustard.
7 Chicagoland showrooms.
PennyMustard.com.
Tastier versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishings.
Honey, what's for dinner?
Honestly, nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Because every time I need a pan, I have to unload half the kitchen first.
It's like Jenga, but with casserole dishes.
Exactly. And I always lose.
At Forever Remodeling, we create kitchens that fit your life, not the other way around. From smart storage to stunning finishes, start cooking in a kitchen built just for you. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com.
As the seasons change, so does the worry. The flu, cold, and COVID season is coming, making a lot of people feel anxious. But what if you don't have to feel that way? My name is Dr. Michael Huber, one of the developers of Virago, the liquid immune enhancement cocktail. Virago was formulated in a liquid to enhance absorption and provide a rapid response. Comprised of 23 natural ingredients chosen for their synergistic properties, it gives your immune system the boost it needs to fight whatever virus is out there. So with the Virago Boost, you can face the coming flu season feeling confident that you are protected. With Virago, you're not fighting the seasons, you're ready for them. Virago, power to defend. Maha starts with Virago.
Order your bottle of Virago online today. Visit myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. That's myvirago.com. Coupon code IMMUNE. Virago and Maha, making America healthy again.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available online at Amazon and newnordicusa.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hatchburg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Still in great shape on the Eden. Inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose is 15. Outbound is 14. To Kennedy, inbound from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange is 22. Outbound is 25. The Eisenhower getting slow inbound from the Jane Addams to the Old Post Office, 38 minutes, all because of a collision right after Wolf Road. Outbound is 32. Inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore is 28. Outbound is 16. The Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne Interchange is 21. Outbound is 11. Watch out for a crash on the Tri-State northbound right near Hinsdale Oasis. Delays begin at the Stevenson. This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. Mattress Firm's Upgrade Your Sleep sale is here. See their sleep experts today to find your perfect bed from their premium selection and save big on better rest. Mattress Firm, they make sleep easy. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will bring brilliant sunshine with a high of 64. Tonight, expect clear skies with a low of 46. Tomorrow will offer abundant sunshine and a high of 65. On Friday, anticipate some sun followed by increasing clouds, reaching a high of 68. Saturday will be sunny with a high of 68. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Just continuing on for a moment, the things that anybody can do to expose what's really going on and help those who are less informed within their circles of influence generate a better understanding so that they make better choices come Election Day. Talking about all this with respect to the ICE presence in Chicago and now the National Guard presence. The orchestrated, not organic protests you see in Broadview. People that serve as backdrop for politicians at press conferences like Brad Schneider yesterday in Waukegan, or BLM Brandon announcing his ICE-free Chicago executive order. Completely unserious people who say some of the most disgusting things and need to be called out, as I just mentioned at the end of the last segment with Brad Schneider comparing people who sacrificed to fight for this country, came here from another country, legally immigrated, being compared to people that are just milling about in Waukegan today here illegally. Truly disgusting. But this other aspect that I mentioned is that the protesters, you are not the majority position on this. And that's what these individuals who are persuadable, not the open borders ideologues. They are not persuadable. But the individuals in some of the demographics I mentioned who are persuadable if they knew a little bit more, if they had a little bit of understanding of what's actually happening. Well, Cam Higbee, who is one of these guerrilla journalists, sort of like Nick Sorter, who you may have seen, he got arrested in Portland for being attacked. Not for committing an attack. He got arrested in Portland for being attacked by the neo-Jacobins that have taken over that city for the last half decade, I should say. Yeah, it's not the stay weird Portland you see in Portlandia. It's a little bit more violent than that. Anyway, Sorter was cleared by the local prosecutor, declined to pursue charges because there's no evidentiary basis. So just updating that case. But Cam Higbee is another one of these sorts of citizen journalists. He caught up with a protester in Chicago, and he noticed something about him, that he had seen him before.
What's going on out here?
Right now we're just organizing stuff, getting ready for tomorrow.
What's going on tomorrow?
More of the protesting.
Well, what does the protest entail?
We're trying to get ICE to leave and stuff because they're just starting all kinds of issues.
And so I have a question for you. I know you.
Yeah.
From Seattle. What are you doing in Chicago? How'd you get out here?
Wait, I recognize you.
Yeah.
I came down here a little bit ago with one of my friends to do more protests in different areas.
All the way from Seattle, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
And we didn't just come here.
Where else did you go?
We were in California for a little bit, New York, and me and my friend did the No Kings Day rally.
How can you guys afford to travel so much?
He has a good job. So,
Cool.
yeah.
He flies you out?
Yeah.
Cool. Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Now, that individual, according to Cam Higbee, has somebody with a developmental disability who is on Social Security. But he says protesters, as you heard, are flying across the country to different states to protest. They're a nomadic tribe of professional agitators being paid, which is why Trump signed that executive order to pursue the money, follow the money, pursue the funding for organizations, not people who want to protest, it's fine, but organizations like Antifa who want to use political violence to their desired ends. By the way, this young man was wearing a bulletproof vest. Why would somebody who is just going to, protest outside of a whatever, let's say outside of the ICE facility in Broadview, why would you wear a bulletproof vest if you're just intending to be a peaceful protester? Why would you think that would be necessary? Huh. But to the point of orchestration, not organic. In point of fact, new Harvard-Harris polling on some of these topics finds the American public overwhelmingly supporting what Trump is doing with respect to removing people here illegally who've committed crimes, with respect to closing the border, adding security and police to discourage illegal crossings. These are all in the other border-related and immigration, law enforcement-related questions are all in the 60s and 70s in terms of supermajority support among the American public. So one of the other lines of argumentation is to say, look, you may think that you're in the majority and you're, maintaining your status as au courant when it comes to the silliness that is spewing forth from Pritzker and Johnson. You're not. Because a lot of these people really want to be with the in crowd, and maybe if they realize that they're not in with the in crowd, I don't know, may make them a little bit less confident about their ignorance. Which brings us to Katie Porter. So this is really a wonderful profile, and this is the sort of person that you cannot get to. Here's a group of people that are reasonable and rational that you can get to. And here's an example of somebody who did her undergraduate at Yale and got her law degree at Harvard and is completely maladjusted to live among civilized people. Even though she also is a former member of Congress in California. There's so much here in terms of her attitude that I think you'll find rings true about people you encountered in some of these neo-Marxist enclaves around Chicagoland. Simple question asked by a CBS affiliate. She's running for governor now. So she's in the jungle primary in California where the top two finishers, it could be two Republicans. They won't be. They could be two Democrats. That's certainly possible. Maybe one Republican, one Democrat, like you had Schiff versus Garvey in the Senate race. So she's in this primary, and all the candidates have done this interview with this CBS affiliate reporter out there. And she's asked the same questions. But this question that she asked Katie Porter, and then how the audacity to follow up on, rather than just accept, the rote answer that you're supposed to accept as a dutiful member of the, larger California political press corps, like the Chicago political press corps, like the DC press corps. You just sit there and nod your head like a trained SEAL. I have these questions that you've probably provided me that I'm going to recite back to you, and you give a stock answer, and I say thank you so much for your time. Well, it didn't go that way, and Katie Porter, the Harvard-educated attorney, couldn't handle it.
What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win, who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order to win, ma'am?
Well, unless you think you're going to get 60% of the vote. You think you'll get 60%. Everybody who did not vote for Trump will vote for you. That's what you're saying.
In a general election, yes. If it is me versus a Republican, I think that I will win the people who did not vote for Trump.
What if it's you versus another Democrat?
I don't intend that to be the case.
So how do you not intend that to be the case? Are you going to ask them not to run?
No, I'm saying I'm going to build the support. I have the support already in terms of name recognition. And so I'm going to do the very best I can to make sure that we get through this primary in a really strong position. But let me be clear with you. I represented Orange County. I represented a purple area. I have stood on my own 2 feet and won Republican votes before. That's not something every candidate in this race can say. If you're from a deep blue area, if you're from LA or you're from Oakland, you don't have an experience.
But you just said you don't need those Trump voters.
Well, you asked me if I needed them to win.
So you don't think
I feel like this is unnecessarily argumentative. What is your question?
The question is the same thing I asked everybody, that this is being called the empowering voters to stop Trump's power grab. Every other candidate has answered this question. This is not
argumentative. And I said I support it.
So, and the question is, what do you say to the 40% of voters who voted for Trump?
Oh, I'm happy to say that. It's the do you need them to win part that I don't understand. I'm happy to answer the question as you have it written, and I'll answer it.
And we've also asked the other candidates, do you think you need any of those 40% of California voters to win? And you're saying, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying I'm going to try to win every vote I can. And what I'm saying to you is that...
Well, to those voters. Okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Every other candidate has answered.
I don't care.
Follow-ups.
I don't care. I want to have a pleasant, positive conversation in which you ask me about every issue on this list. And if every question you're going to make up a follow-up question, then we're never going to get there.
Ms.
And
Porter,
we're just going to circle around.
I am an investigative
I have never had to do
reporter.
this before, ever.
You've never had to have a conversation with
to end
a
an
reporter?
interview.
Okay, but every other candidate has done this.
What part of I'm me? I'm running for governor because I'm a leader. So I am going to make...
So you're not going to answer questions from reporters? Okay, why don't we go through? I will continue to ask follow-up questions because that's my job as a journalist, but I will go through and ask these, and if you don't want to answer, you don't want to answer. So nearly every legislative...
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you, and I don't want this all on camera.
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you either. I would love to continue to ask these questions so that we can show our viewers what every candidate feels about every one of these issues that they care about. And redistricting, it's a massive issue. We're going to do an entire story just
on that. Yeah, redistricting. It's actually a ballot initiative that's up in November, and then next year solely separate and distinct for the big redistricting gambit that Gavin Newsom started as a meme, and it turned into a campaign to try to checkmate the redistricting that occurred in Texas, of course. But anyway, isn't every politician entitled to a happy experience with somebody who's interviewing them? Don't make this unhappy. Yeah, that's Harvard-educated attorney Katie Porter, candidate for governor. This portly, entitled, arrogant political hack. Interestingly, just to give you some, Katie Porter's daughter, Betsy, is named after Elizabeth Warren. Are you starting to the profile starting to come into focus for you? You've seen this before at the Starbucks in Hinsdale. She was apparently married for 10 years to some guy named Matthew Hoffman. Boy, I'd like to get a look at that guy. Their divorce was contentious, including, and this is public reporting, both Hoffman and Porter sought help for anger management. Oh, really? I think Katie Porter needed the help for anger management, and then and Katie Porter's existence is why Matt Hoffman needed the same. That's my supposition there. So the Katie Porter profile and the male impersonator that she was married to, those are the people that you don't waste your time with, no matter how good the quality of your evidence is in trying to make a point, trying to persuade somebody not on your side to come over to your side. But there are many, many more who are persuadable. Just look out for the Katie Porters. She wants happy experiences only. No follow-ups.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
President Trump has made some pretty amazing claims since he's taken his seat as president. He's delivering on what he promised. On Inauguration Day, Trump's very first declaration was,
"The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish."
Consider this. Since the election, gold has shot up hundreds of dollars per ounce, shattering all-time record highs. Fox Valley Coins does not pretend to know the future, but they do know that if you're buying or selling gold or silver, they are the place to do it. These are some of the top reasons people choose a dealer. You want a national dealer with a local presence you can deal with face-to-face. You want a large selection, the best prices, and great service. You want to walk in with cash and walk out with the best product. You want to deal with legacy dealers with integrity. Whether buying or selling or just one valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your answer for choosing a dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Making the switch to new IT services and support company may seem like a big ordeal, but if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs every working day, then meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts and proud new sponsor of Chicago's Morning Answer. These are the guys you want to talk to. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions, manufacturers and businesses across all sectors. They will make the switch easier for you than you think. Call them today to discuss your business needs and tell them I sent you. When you do, that number, 1-800-804-8333. Again, that's 1-800-804-8333. Or visit accessoneinc.com. That's Access One, spelled out, O-N-E, accessoneinc.com. Access One, tech made personal, locally.
If your cash is sitting in a savings account, it's at risk. Old school advice says save more, but today the strategy is broken. When inflation spikes, they print money or cut rates, your dollar shrinks. So do your savings. The solution? Own something real. Physical gold and silver. When the dollar drops, gold and silver prices rise. And with Noble Gold, owning gold is simple. Just visit noblegoldinvestments.com and chat with a specialist. The knowledge is free. The protection is priceless. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions.
Ross Shaw talks about building income in retirement.
You know, you can actually structure it in a way that have that $4,000 a month coming in the door every single month. So you don't have to look at the stock ticker and say, oh, the stock market's up today, stock market's down. You still got that $4,000 a month, and having that opportunity to take the vacations and do all the fun things in retirement that you always dreamed to do.
Unleash your wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Don't get stuck with a cold shower this fall. Give CenterGuard Plumbing a call. Get a new 40-gallon water heater installed for just $1,195 for standard installation, or a 50-gallon heater for $1,295 standard installation. A proud new sponsor of AM 560, CenterGuard is offering specials on new water heaters. Don't wait. The cold temperatures are coming, and the same can happen to your water heater. If you're having hot water issues or your water heater's over 8 years old, take advantage of this fall special today. CenterGuard Plumbing is Chicagoland's same-day water heater experts. Call before noon, and they can schedule your repair or install the same day on in-stock water heaters. They'll even haul away your old one, no charge. You're only a text away from install today. Call 847-406-8883. Mention AM 560 to receive fall special pricing. That's 847-406-8883. Call or text 847-406-8883 or visit CenterGuardPlumbing.com.
Sean Thompson here, and I'm with attorney Bert Hochberg from the law firm of Schiller, Ducanto, and Fleck. We're talking about divorce arbitration. This is not really a new, or is it a new, innovative way to go through divorce?
Arbitration has been around for decades. It's completely legit and available to resolve divorce cases. The litigants and their lawyers sign an arbitration agreement. They identify what the issues are, and we set up dates, and we determine what experts and witnesses there may be. Arbitration is a hearing, a trial that is intended to finish a case efficiently with limited appeal, with a binding decision, and it's confidential, so it has some great characteristics.
I think it's a unique alternative to divorce. For more information, please visit sdflaw.com and type Bert Hochberg into the search box. That's sdflaw.com or call direct 773-255-6150.
AM 560, The Answer.
After Katie Porter was done explaining herself to that CBS reporter how she's a leader, wanted a happy experience, then she sat down with the two Bobs.
I have people skills. I am good at dealing with people. Can't you understand it? What the hell is wrong with you people?
Exactly. No, I think she's going to make a fine governor of California. 6 to 7 a.m., AM 560 WIND.
They'll try again at the Senate this morning. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. To fund the government, which is shut down for an 8th straight day. Fox's Peter Doocy's at the White House.
Both sides are still really dug in. It does not seem like there are any plans for Democratic congressional leaders to come here to the White House to try to negotiate a way out. And it doesn't really feel like President Trump is in much of a hurry to talk to them.
And I really think that these are people that I think they have nothing to lose. They have a party that's out of control.
Now, the president has also suggested some furloughed federal workers may not get back pay when the funding stalemate is finally resolved. Some federal workers deemed essential have to keep working without pay, like air traffic controllers, but some have been calling out sick. And this morning, there are nearly 500 flight delays on top of more than 9,000 the past 2 days. Now to Chicago, where Fox's Jeff Manasso reports.
Hundreds of Illinois National Guard troops, federalized, and hundreds more have arrived in suburban Chicago, courtesy of Texas Governor Republican Greg Abbott, to help keep immigration agents and facilities safe. Immigration action that Governor Pritzker and other Democrats have railed against. They've also filed suit over the use of the National Guard here, calling it illegal.
Well, a federal judge has given the Trump administration a today deadline to detail where the troops would be sent and what they'd do once deployed. The president is a high-profile critic of his illegal immigration crackdown.
Pope Leo XIV has met visiting American bishops in the Vatican, telling them to take a firm line in support of migrants who fear deportation from the United States. Mark Seitz, the Bishop of El Paso, Texas, telling reporters that the pontiff is very personally concerned.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. In a few hours, James Comey will be arraigned in federal court in Virginia. The former FBI director facing two charges, including lying to Congress in 2020 testimony about the 2016 election. Current FBI Director Kash Patel tells Fox,
the mainstream media wants to take the eye off the ball and create theater.
America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It's 63 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Federal agents in Chicago have arrested a suspected Latino Kings leader accused of offering cash bounties to capture and kill Chief Border Patrol Agent Greg Bovino. 37-year-old Juan Espinoza Martinez has been charged with a single count of murder for hire with a criminal complaint alleging that he sent Snapchat messages offering $2,000 for any information about Bovino and $10,000 for killing him. Bovino joins Fox's America's Reports with reaction.
That was an illegal alien that was comfortable enough living here in the United States, an illegal alien gang member, to put a bounty out like that. And when we look at what the governor or the mayor are talking about, they are the reason that gang members feel comfortable enough to do something like that.
Now, that arrest followed a violent weekend in the Windy City that was marked by multiple shootings with law enforcement. Federal agents arrested 2 people on Saturday accused of ramming government vehicles. With no end in sight to the partial federal government shutdown after the U.S. Senate failed to approve a stopgap funding measure, the finger pointing is continuing. Greg Bishop reports.
Democratic Illinois Congresswoman Nikki Budzinski said it was the Republican shutdown.
Day 6 of Donald Trump and Republicans in Congress failing to address the health care crisis they have created. And to make matters worse, Speaker Mike Johnson is still refusing to bring the House back into session this week.
It's been almost 7 years since the federal government last shut down. Meanwhile, the impacts are being felt by travelers. Officials say Chicago O'Hare has been experiencing delays due to staffing shortages related to the shutdown. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. What if you could save an average of 90% for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back? With a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, it's possible. Check if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Scott Jennings is safe from left-wing lunacy.
Marking myself safe from that nut, Keith Olbermann, the poster boy for left-wing outrage, the poster boy for complete broken brain progressivism, threatening me, of all people. Unbelievable. But we're safe.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at 1, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion. That's billion with a B. Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words micro. That's pound 250, micro.
Surprise! Your expenses this month were way higher than you expected! Also, you forgot to renew your website domain and now you're in a bidding war!
You should see the look on your face!
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Plus, the fridge died in the break room and now everything smells weird!
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are high interest payments becoming too much to bear? Luckily, there's a way for consumers struggling with over $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans to significantly reduce the amount they owe if they qualify. Qualifying for this debt relief program, which the credit card companies prefer to keep secret, will only require you to pay back a fraction of what you owe with one affordable monthly payment. You don't have to file bankruptcy or need a debt consolidation loan. Consumers can now take advantage of this financial debt relief during the current economic downturn and rising inflation. If you owe $10,000 or even $500,000 in credit card debt or personal loans, call the Debt Relief Advocates Helpline now for this free information and to see if you qualify. Call 800-466-4131. 800-466-4131. Again, that's 800-466-4131.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Inbound on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose is 15. Outbound is 16. The Kennedy, you do have 30 minutes in both directions from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange, all because of a collision on the inbound side at the Byrne Interchange, and it blocks the left lane. The Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, that's 32 minutes. An accident just cleared just after Wolf, and outbound is 23 minutes. Inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore is 40, outbound is 21, and the Dan Ryan starting to get real slow. Inbound from 95th Street to the Byrne Interchange, 22 minutes, outbound still looks good at 12. Traffic is a service of Fox Valley Coins. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will bring brilliant sunshine with a high of 64. Tonight, expect clear skies with a low of 46. Tomorrow will offer abundant sunshine and a high of 65. On Friday, anticipate some sun followed by increasing clouds, reaching a high of 68. Saturday will be sunny with a high of 68. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, Governor Pritzker making the rounds to see if he can get more buy-in for this conspiracy theory he's been peddling for some time. You know what this is all about, talking about the ICE presence in places like Chicago, backed by the National Guard in places like, well, now Chicago, or soon to be. It's all a setup. He explained this in painstaking detail to Maddow Hayes, either Rachel Maddow or Chris Hayes. Again, I can never tell the two apart.
But they think they can get people used to the idea. And next year, I fear that what they're going to do is deploy these folks eventually to polling places and say they're protecting the vote. Donald Trump knows that without shenanigans and without these breaches of the Constitution, that he's going to lose the Congress. And if he loses, he's going to immediately, in the aftermath of the election, do what he said he might do in 2020, which is use the military to confiscate the ballot boxes and count the votes, claiming that there's fraud. Remember, he's called up all 50 states' election data to the Department of Justice because they want to review all 50 states for fraud. And they won't tell you exactly what they're going to do, but I fear that these are all connected. And this militarization, even without National Guard or military troops on the ground, you're seeing ICE act like a militaristic organization. You're seeing CBP act like it.
Act like a law enforcement organization. Yeah. No, I mean, I'd be very worried about anybody that would jeopardize the integrity of elections in Cook County. But just as a practical matter, exactly which congressional races, if it's the House that he's trying to protect with this military gambit that he's plotting of seizing ballot boxes, you say, where is there a congressional district in Chicago Metro that is in jeopardy? Where is there an expected Republican pickup anywhere? Yeah, right. Oregon, Illinois. These are Memphis. These are cities, and in the cases of Oregon and Illinois, that are really in play as part of the Trump strategy, just as a practical matter. Really central to the strategy of national Republicans in maintaining the House and Senate. What are you talking about? It's just so absurd as a practical political matter before you even get to the evidence-free accusations that there is any such plot afoot. It is all boogeyman politics. And the boogeyman will do the things that boogeymen do. He goes bump in the night. So ascribe to him the most, fantastical criminal conspiracies because that's what I need to keep doing to feed this beast called my constituency. That's what this is. So it's seizing the ballot boxes to throw the election to who exactly? I don't know. Doesn't matter. On the one hand. And then, of course, it's that as the predicate to impose the Fourth Reich on the other.
What we're talking about is authoritarianism. We could have talked about Pol Pot. We could have talked about authoritarians across history. I chose something I know very well. I helped to build a Holocaust museum. And what I know is in the early days of the Nazi regime, they started slowly but surely taking away people's rights. And what we're seeing now is the very same thing. They've gone into cities now with the military. Think about that. In your lifetime, have you ever seen anything like that?
Yes.
Where the President of the United States is sending military or troops dressed as military, ICE and CBP, in camouflage with automatic weapons into our major cities. It's wrong. And indeed, especially at a time when it's the President of the United States who's causing the mayhem on the ground. We've actually done very well in Chicago, bringing down crime, addressing the needs of victims. He's the one taking funding away from law enforcement, taking funding away from victims, taking money away from community violence intervention. I mean, who is it here that's standing up for the rights of our people? isn't it those of us who are actually protecting the people of Illinois and not the President of the United States, who is got an entire playbook for how he's going to win the 2026 elections by militarizing U.S. cities?
Yeah, I've seen people in camouflage in the city before, protecting attendees to the DNC when NATO was in town, protecting all those dignitaries that flew into Chicago under when Tiny Dancer was the mayor. Yeah, I've seen it before. As we talked about earlier in the show, we've seen it before when it was JFK scrambling the National Guard to deal with segregationist politicians in states like Alabama that were impeding desegregation. Yeah, we've seen it before. Yeah. No, I know. And from his view, from his gated Gold Coast mansion or his Lake Geneva compound or his Wellington, Florida horse farm, everything looks good in Chicago as far as he can tell. What's the problem? The only thing that we need in Chicago is to make it an anti-ice zone, an ice-free zone. We need to de-ice Chicago. And then it's back to the salad days. Right? For more on this, pleased to be joined by Alderman Ray Lopez. He is the alderman for the 15th Ward. Ray, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning to your listeners.
Good morning. And so we got to make Chicago ice-free. That's a ice-free zone in addition to a sanctuary city. And, again, Pritzker doesn't see the need for additional resources because what he and Brandon Johnson have done is just going gangbusters.
Well, I love the idea that Chicago and Illinois somehow become a political utopia for all things freedom. Because I distinctly remember also you missed on your list, we also deployed the National Guard during COVID.
Well, yeah, true.
Here in the city of Chicago. All of this has become a self-fulfilling prophecy of Pritzker and Johnson, who claim that they want peaceful protests, but yet are antagonizing protesters to resist, to fight back, to prepare for the second coming of the Civil War, as we heard the other day, to rise up, defend your communities, defend our state. All these words are being heard by individuals whom we know either A, are paid to come and protest and destroy, or B, are looking for an excuse to protest and destroy. And all the while, we're forgetting that we are a nation of laws, as Barack Obama said a decade ago, and he has to enforce the laws that are on the books. And the federal government is still responsible for national security and border control. They are here, yes, in camouflage, yes, with weapons, yes, with masks, because we have individuals trying to do serious harm to our law enforcement while also handicapping local law enforcement from simply keeping the peace between the two opposing groups. All of this falls at their feet, and yet they're happy dancing as though nothing's going on, nothing's wrong. Everyone's just, wearing flowery shirts and kumbaya over there in Brighton Park. Not that they're trying to ram ICE agents off the road or chasing them up and down Clearing and Garfield Ridge in the southwest side in caravans, trying to kill them and activate those cartel-driven bounties on our border agents.
Yeah, it's noticeable. It's noticeable. I mean, this is a good formulation that Douglas Murray provided, this gray zone that politicians like Pritzker and Brandon Johnson are in, where they don't condone the violence formally, but they don't condemn it either, because they want to enable it to political ends. That's my supposition. I'm not putting that on you, but that's my supposition. And it's,
I'd agree with that. 100%.
Okay. And it's noticeable when Pritzker cannot, and same with Brandon, cannot bring themselves to say, hey, listen, ramming ICE vehicles, as happened over this weekend in two separate instances, that's no good. Doxing ICE officers and their families, that's no good. Stop following them on the apps. Stop attacking them. A University of Chicago sociology professor who is got felony assault charges for assaulting a government worker at the Broadview facility. That's no good. We cannot do that. You want to peacefully protest, that's fine, but we have had incidents of violence. I don't like what ICE is doing, but we've had incidents of violence, and that's no good. They can't even bring themselves to make such a pedestrian statement as that. What does that tell you?
Yeah. Look at when the first incident where a would-be cap target of the ICE agents tried to run him over with his car, and the ICE agents was clinging on to the hood for his life in an apprehension gone wrong because we don't support ICE and their activities. Not one person can condemn and say that if you're being apprehended, go peacefully, call a lawyer, do whatever your rights allow you to do. No, they had no problem with run over the ICE agent and try to kill him to get away. And this is setting us up for a very dangerous confrontation, ultimate confrontation, because before, a few months ago, Donald Trump wanted to send the National Guard to help with maintaining the peace in the city of Chicago, so to allow and send extra resources to help our police go after those criminals, not just non-citizens, undocumented, but criminals here in the city of Chicago, which we know we have plenty of. They refused. 9 months ago, they refused to coordinate with ICE by amending welcoming city laws at the state and local level because we're not working with Trump. Let him go find them themselves. Now they're here finding them themselves, going through the neighborhoods, putting anxiety levels at the highest they've been in many immigrant communities because we refused as a city and as a state, thanks to Pritzker and Johnson, to refuse to work with them to go after the worst of the worst and not even let them know when we had them in custody. All of these things we've put in motion ourselves because of the performative politics that goes on at both levels. One, because one wants to be president. Two, because the other one wants to get reelected. And the only people that are being hurt right now are those in the communities who don't understand why every time they see somebody on TV saying, oh, you're safe, we're welcoming, we're sanctuary, we're ICE-free, why that doesn't seem to apply. And that's because we fail to teach kids in school anymore that the city and the state are not at the top of the pyramid. The federal government is when it comes to national matters. And people should start recognizing that fact and figuring out how to work with Trump because he's going to be here for the next 3.5 years. And we can't continue like this.
You know, it's interesting, too. I mean, Kash Patel and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanchard are in town today. And, you know, you've got federal resources that are being brought to bear that were brought to bear in D.C., obviously, that are being brought to bear in Memphis. And you would think, even under Lightfoot, when it was Barr who was the Attorney General and he launched Operation Legend to bring federal resources to charge some violent criminals in cities with federal crimes so they can go to federal prison and be away for a long time and maybe get them away from the light sentencing they were receiving.
Kim Fox University.
Yeah, from the Kim Fox and Tim Evans era, right? But so you would think like you'd want a relationship there, if nothing, but not because you personally like anybody, who cares? But because you want those resources to be brought to bear to remove repeat violent offenders, maybe to federalize their crimes and thus their time, and get them out of the city. I mean, since it's we all know a preponderance of the violent crime is committed by a small fraction of repeat violent offenders, but they can't even bring themselves to think about to be other regarding in the direction of their constituents in that instance either.
No, you're absolutely correct. And they have a convenient lapse of memory in that the city of Chicago, for example, gets $3.5 billion of its $17 billion budget from our federal partners, from federal agencies. And if Pritzker is going to start complaining with Johnson about, oh, he took 10% of that away from us, wait till he comes after the other 90% because we continue to harbor criminals here in the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. Donald Trump declared cartels terrorist organizations. We know we have cartel presence here in the city of Chicago. In my own ward, for example, who are bringing drugs, dealing with illicit activities like guns and the gun trade and all coordinating with gangs. We also know we now have the Tren de Aragua here in the city of Chicago. It's confirmed. It's been confirmed for months, but we pretend like we've never heard of these individuals. We pretend that they're not trafficking women for $150 through Facebook Marketplace, and we just keep sticking our head in the sand, hoping it all goes away just to get through the next election. And I think this administration is blowing that out the water and making life very uncomfortable for people who just rather continue ignoring the problems than addressing them.
Speaking of the neighborhoods you represent, I'd just be interested what feedback you're getting. I mean, you're Brighton Park, Back of the Yard, Chicago Lawn, West Inglewood. I mean, so it's a lot of minority families. And I wonder, and I just wonder what their reaction is, not just to ICE, but to the prospect of the National Guard backing up ICE, because those could be very different opinions about those two agencies. What feedback you're getting about all of this?
Well, I think in non-immigrant communities, people are very concerned about the federal government's presence without any kind of coordination. They're very concerned that if you just let loose the National Guard for law enforcement purposes, which we know they don't have a mandate to do, but if you were to do that, where is it going to end? And I rightfully understand that, which is why, again, Pritzker and and Johnson and Trump should have been able to coordinate and discuss how can you work together. Take him up on his challenge and say, if you're going to spend the dollars, why don't you focus over here? In immigrant communities, there's still a lot of resentment in the fact that the Venezuelan migrant asylum seekers oftentimes get lumped into the same category as long-term undocumented, mainly Mexicans in my community. They are not one and the same. They are here for very different reasons, and one gets supported by the federal government with protections and the other one doesn't. And unfortunately, we do know that many of those individuals who arrived under the Biden-Harris administration, of which 60,000 still reside here in the city of Chicago, have court cases to determine whether or not their asylum cases have merit, but in nearly a decade from now. Those are the individuals who, if the Trump administration were serious, I think should have gone after first, because we know where they are, we know where we're sending our tax-subsidized benefits to, and we could have bumped up their cases immediately, determined whether or not needing employment was an asylum-granting mission, which it's not, and then immediately deported them. No brainer, no problems in the community, and it would have allowed us to deal with many of the issues that we're dealing with in our neighborhoods right now. We could have all coordinated with that. Unfortunately, you have individuals like Pritzker, like Johnson, and all their Latino allies who continue to try to just lump everyone and paint everyone with one simple brushstroke. And it's done more harm than good in communities where people love America but don't have an easy, direct path to become citizens, all the while ignoring the fact that we've granted protection to individuals who don't care and are just here to get paid, get money, and to send it all back to Venezuela.
Before I let you go, so the controversy surrounding the stand-down order given by CPD over the weekend, and after Snelling's presser on Monday, we had the FOP take a no-confidence vote in the Chief of Patrol, John Hein, who I guess right now at least is wearing the jacket for giving that stand-down order. What's your reaction to what happened and to Snelling's response thus far? And when your intuition on what you think went down?
Well, first off, you can't have John Q. Citizen thinking they could take it upon themselves to run people off the road, to box them in while driving with semi-automatic weapons for the purposes of causing harm to law enforcement. I don't care if they're state, county, city, or even federal law enforcement. You just don't do that. That is not an American value. That's a third world value. Second, I don't necessarily believe that no order was given because we heard it. We saw it in print off the computer screen. So someone directed the Chief of Patrols to take that action. Now, did he get a call from the Deputy Mayor of Public Safety, Gary and Gatewood? Did he get a call from the Deputy Mayor from Immigration and Refugee Rights, Beatrice Ponce Leon? I don't know. I'm pretty sure that the fifth floor told them to say that so that the protesters, which matter most to the mayor, would be free to do whatever they want to do. My gut tells me that there's more to this story, but I applaud the superintendent for at least saying, in theory, CPD will assist law enforcement and that you don't have the right to do what we saw unfold. Unfortunately, we know that many of the individuals think it is their right. And we also know that, it's interesting that for a mayor who says that law enforcement is a sickness, no sooner than this unfolded where we said we're not going to help law enforcement if they're under attack. Just yesterday, the mayor said, but we will fully prosecute ICE if they violate crimes.
Yeah.
here in the city of Chicago. So, law enforcement is a sickness. It's not a sickness. They're your pawns. They're your enemy. I don't understand. He needs to pick a side because you don't get to play both sides when it comes to people with the authority to lock people up.
He's going to have
talk about the Gestapo and all of that, where Pritzker says this is how it starts. I'm afraid that's how it starts. When you start politicizing the arms of government for the purposes of locking up those you oppose, that's exactly fascism. That's the Nazism that you saw. And people should be reminded of that fact.
Yeah, so Brandon Johnson is going to have CPD arrest ICE right before he defunds CPD. I think it's just to cover his bases. Ray Lopez, 15th Ward Alderman. Ray, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
All right, Dan. Have a great morning.
And Alderman Lopez joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Chicagoland traffic. The Ike, the Stevenson, the dreaded 294. You sitting in traffic is not time well spent. Time is money.
Oh, come on, man. What's the slowdown for?
Especially when you're trying to do your own company deliveries.
What is happening up there? I got things to deliver.
But instead of sitting there getting more and more frustrated,
please, can we go any slower?
You could be back at the shop getting work done.
I should have stayed at work and actually worked.
Get Quick Delivery Service to battle the traffic for you. They'll make your deliveries while you get other things done. Quick Delivery Service makes it easy. No forms, no labels, no scanning. They'll deliver large pallets of materials to important documents. Simply tell Quick Delivery Service where it's going. They'll pick it up and get it to your destination quickly. Plus, your deliveries are tracked with real-time GPS notifications. Visit quickdelivery.com and stay out of traffic.
Oh no, this exit's closed?
Call now for a free quote. 847-534-2244 or go to quickdelivery.com.
Welcome back to Ask Hassellus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
What makes Hassellus Mattress different?
Aside from employee-free showrooms, free next-day delivery and haul-away, and way too low prices on Beautyrest, Sealy Posturepedic, and Serta Perfect Sleeper?
Yeah, besides that.
Well, Hassellus is locally owned.
You mean your franchise is locally owned?
We're not a franchise. Every showroom is owned and managed by the same family. So, when you shop at Hassellus, your money stays right here. And through Monday, our family wants to give you a $248 credit towards a new Beautyrest, Sealy Posturepedic, and Serta Perfect Sleeper just for shopping local.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Our 43 beds from the top 5 brands start at $393.
I like that.
Try and buy with no pushy sales guy.
I love that.
Free next day delivery too.
Thanks.
For what?
For being different.
Shop local and enjoy a $248 credit through Monday at Hassellus Mattress. Open 9 to 9. Find a no-hassle, employee-free showroom near you at hassellus.com.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up at 7:37, weekly conversation with economist Stephen Moore. Of course, we'll talk government shutdown. We'll start there, 7:37 with Steve. Now check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 64 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. President Trump held a bilateral meeting with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney at the White House, where he briefly discussed his planned deployment of federal troops to Chicago. The president insists our state's Governor J.B. Pritzker is incapable of dealing with violent crime, adding that he'll take care of the issue himself if he has to.
They probably had 50 murders in Chicago over the last 5, 6, 7 months. Many people were shot. And then the governor gets up and he says, well, we can handle it. They can't handle it. They don't know what they're doing.
Meanwhile, Governor Pritzker and state Democrats are accusing the president of abusing his power by deploying the military for political reasons. Chicago police data says crime is down about 13% overall this year as compared to last, with shootings down 35%, murders down 28%, and robberies down 34%. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Get Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th at Westin Chicago Northwest and Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Nauman and Associates, Scott Tucker Solutions Incorporated, and by Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago.
Hi, Dan Proft here. Data shows that boys make up more than 1/3 of those exploited in the sex trade. However, there are virtually no services available to male victims and survivors of trafficking and exploitation. They are often overlooked, ignored, and left without support. For 35 years, Emmaus has been on the front lines of an issue most of us can hardly imagine, helping men and boys in Chicago escape the nightmare of human trafficking and rebuild their lives. On Friday, November 1st, you're invited to attend an unforgettable evening at the Emmaus 35th Anniversary Gala at Fisherman's Inn in Elburn, Illinois. Together, they'll celebrate faith, freedom, and restoration with a beautifully catered dinner, an inspiring program, and a silent auction, all to support the mission of rescuing and restoring survivors. This is your chance to do something that truly matters. Reserve your seat today, or if you can't attend, make a life-changing donation at streets.org. That's streets.org. Emmaus is restoring lives. Let's help them keep going. Visit streets.org.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at TruePowerGenerator.com. That's TruePowerGenerator.com. Plus, 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty. Terms and conditions apply. Call for details. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
You know, nothing beats the comfort of a perfectly heated home.
And when it comes to heating your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Air Right Heating and Cooling is fast. When your furnace breaks down, they'll fix it right away.
Just like that. Big time results. No waiting around. You get the job done right. And let's face it, who doesn't love being warm, right? It's beautiful. When it's freezing, I crank up that amazing furnace. Burn, baby, burn. Trust me, you'll say, wow, I've never felt this warm in my life.
If you like keeping your hard-earned money, then contact Air Right Heating and Cooling. Tell them AM 560 sent you, and right now you'll receive $56 off any service.
Unbelievable.
Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere, delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Samsung TV Plus, channel 1177.
Protect your liver and give it the support it deserves with Active Liver from New Nordic. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or at newnordicusa.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Inbound on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose is 15, outbound 18. The Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange is 37 minutes, outbound is 45. An earlier collision inbound at Washington Street has been cleared. The Eisenhower slows down inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 37 minutes, outbound is 24. Inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore is 44, outbound is 21. And the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange is 27. Outbound is 12. Watch out for a car fire on the Tri-State northbound at Dempster Street. Lots of fire department activity. This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. Mattress Firm's Upgrade Your Sleep sale is here. See their sleep experts today to find your perfect bed from their premium selection and save big on better rest. Mattress Firm, they make sleep easy. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will feature brilliant sunshine with the high of 64. Tonight will be clear with a low of 46. Tomorrow, expect abundant sunshine and a high of 65. On Friday, we'll see some sun before it turns cloudy with a high of 68. Saturday will bring sunshine with a high of 68. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get The latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, Sundays, noon to 1. Learn more online at mwmfinancial.tax.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I guess the way we debate policy issues these days is through memes. We've gone from Hakeem Jeffries in a sombrero to Russ Vought, OMB director, as the Reaper. That was not endorsed by Blue Oyster Cult, just a point of order there. Still arguing about whether or not the left wants money for health coverage for illegal immigrants. Well, they do. Maybe not health insurance formally, as we've discussed with C.S. Tucker and others, but they get health care, and that's still a real cost to the American taxpayer. By the way, just as a reminder, on that debate stage, 2016, much less 2020, 2016, when there were a good 10 Democrat socialist candidates running for president, you may recall. And every single one of them raised their hand and said, yes, I would support coverage for illegal immigrants. Kamala Harris as the nominee, at least when she was a senator from California and before she was the nominee last year, supported that. Elizabeth Warren, when she ran for president in 2020, supported that. And now she bristles at the notion that that's their actual underlying position.
The Republicans, there is no change in the number of undocumented immigrants who get any help under what the Democrats want. Look, Senator, what we're looking for is help for people who are going to get pushed out of nursing homes, help for people who are at home and relying on home health aides.
Yeah, that was her on CBS Mornings. But again, you can't escape the fact that all of these same people saying that we're not up to anything nefarious here with respect to covering the healthcare costs of people in this country legally have all said that that is their formal position over the last two presidential cycles. It's kind of an important point in terms of credibility. We do know a couple of other things, though, that there is this, and this is such a case study in government. Again, we went through this with C.S. Tucker, but let's do it again since we're in week 2. There's $350 billion in healthcare subsidies, $350 billion over 10 years in Obamacare subsidies. Where did these come from? Well, they came through the American Rescue Plan, the expansion of those eligible for Obamacare subsidies. Previously, it was people who earn less than 400% of the federal poverty level. The quote-unquote American Rescue Plan, or willing and entitled, that was passed by Biden and those same Democrats in 2021, greatly expanded those subsidies. And so now, but they were intended to be temporary. The original legislation ended them in 2 years. That was 21. But then in 22, as part of the, again, absurdly named Inflation Reduction Act, Democrats extended them until 2025, which brings us to the end of this year, 2025. And now the impasse here is Democrats want those committed to now, the $350 billion over 10 years, to maintain this expanded subsidy eligibility. And Republicans want that clean CR that they keep talking about and say, we'll talk about the subsidies separately, which they'll probably cave on and do anyway. They just want to do it separately. And this is another case, in terms of, to paraphrase Milton Friedman, where nothing is so permanent as a temporary entitlement benefit. And so Republicans fearing a backlash if you remove a benefit that was conferred for the last 4 years to people who were never intended to get Obamacare subsidies, but now get them. If you remove that and then their health insurance premiums go up precipitously to subsidize the rest of those people that are getting subsidies, well, then they could face a political problem come the midterms. That's the dynamic on both scores, on both sides of it. For more on this, please be joined by Steve Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again, co-author with Art Laffer. Steve, thank you for joining us, as always. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan. Good to be with you.
Anything you want to add to my distillation?
I don't know if I can improve on what you just said. I think you summarized it quite well. I said, look, but I think you may have buried the headline. Okay. I think the headline here that every American should understand and know is that Obamacare was a fraud.
Well, yes.
They knew it. And they remember. By the way, do you remember what the name of the bill was?
Do I remember what the what? Oh, the
Affordable Care Act.
Affordable Care Act, of course. Yes, the Make America Great Again or something. I remember, yeah, something like that. Something very positive.
Affordable Care Act. So how healthcare costs have like tripled since we passed that bill.
Yes. Well, that's the old PJ.
So well.
That's the old PJ work line, right? About single payer. If you think healthcare is expensive now, wait until it's free.
Until the government runs it.
Yeah, right.
And so, and by the way, this was their plan. These guys are so nefarious, and I got to admit, they're always one or two moves on the chessboard ahead of the Republicans. So they knew that back in 2010, they started with 20% of the population, 30, 40. Do you know under the current bill that Schumer shut the government down to get passed? You could make up to $500,000 and get government subsidies for health care. I mean, this stuff is lunatic.
It is.
If you're only making $400,000, you're poor. Let's face it, you can't afford it. So this stuff is crazy.
Yeah.
And, we ought to.
It's time those billionaires pay their fair share for people only making $490,000. Steve.
There you go. And so the other thing is, you're falsely accusing Democrats because look, that big increase in the Obamacare subsidies, that was for an emergency, Dan. Don't you understand that? That was an emergency.
Yes.
Of course, COVID ended, 4 or 5 years ago? And they still want to. You can't make this stuff up, right, folks? And the bottom line is, this circles back to the big, beautiful bill. And, I strongly supported the tax cuts. I think it's done an enormously positive thing for the economy. But we didn't have many spending cuts in there. We really didn't. So we cut one out of the $80 trillion the federal government is going to spend over the next 10 years. We cut $1.5 trillion. So do the math there. That's about a 2% cut in overall government spending.
Draconian. People will.
People will die.
I know.
2% out of the budget. So now Schumer is saying we cannot live with these 2% cuts. And that's why he shut down the government.
Yeah.
So he could. We can restore those evil cuts, and that's the idiocy that's going on in Washington. And by the way, I'm supposed to fly out of Washington D.C. today for a trip, and now a lot of the flights are being canceled because the air traffic controllers aren't getting paid, and it's just mayhem. And of course, that's exactly what Chucky Schumer wanted.
I don't want to live in a world where the federal government is spending 2% less than they did last year, Steve.
Exactly. Right. No, it's unbelievable. And another way, it's actually they have more. They'll spend 2%.
Steve, you're breaking up on us a little bit there. Don't move around. Your the tin foil thing isn't working. Yeah. You need your antenna.
Okay. I was saying you had it slightly wrong because you said, you don't want to live where we spend 2% less. No, it's actually 2% less than they want. So it's not like we're going to spend 2% less next year. It's
right.
2% off the 8% increase they want.
Yes. I don't want to live in that either world. And what Trump said something.
Yeah, stop using their math. Stop using their math.
Yes. Like it even matters. I mean, it's like you try to have a conversation about the numbers and they don't even matter.
I shot a 68 yesterday. Of course, I'm not counting those 12 strokes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I pick and choose. Fun with numbers. Now, the one thing that Trump said that has probably some air traffic controllers and others nervous, he was asked about federal workers receiving back pay, which they're used to getting when it comes to these government shutdown theatrical productions. And he said, it depends on who we're talking about. Some don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way. I don't know what it sounds like a mob boss. He said, and they just said Democrats have put people at great risk. So some may or may not get back pay. That's got to be, that in terms of the sort of entitled federal worker, that's got to be something they've never heard before.
Well, I mean, how many people in the private sector, if they get laid off, a paycheck? I mean, that's not the way it works in the government. And so it is basically a paid vacation for these, quote, non-essential workers. And that is so they love it. They love the shutdown. Federal employees, they live down the street from me. They're out playing tennis and golf today. Thank you, taxpayers. So the whole thing is a sham. We've done this 5 years, and this most of the time Republicans lose, but I think that Democrats are going to lose this time. Although I'm worried. I think Trump may cave in on the health care. I think he may do that. I think he's going to say, we can't be heartless. We have to give people who make $400,000 free health care.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where we are in Washington today.
I mean, you can barely make ends meet on that. I mean, I don't want to get into this sort of income level envy business of the left, but I mean, it is just silly. Nobody has to pay for anything. That's just that's egregious.
And by the way, the one serious point here, though, is that since we passed Obamacare 15 years ago, the life expectancy in the United States has fallen. So we're not even getting better health care. We're getting worse health care and paying a lot more for it. That is a wonderful plan.
Making things worse and paying more for it. That sounds like what government does with everything. I mean, isn't it?
Well, certainly in Illinois.
I saw that the EU is trying to go tit for tat with Trump on tariffs. Nice piece of alliteration by me there. Brussels, the EU raising steel tariffs to match the U.S. rate of 50%. They want Trump back at the negotiating table. I thought Ursula and Donald were getting along so famously when she was in town. Apparently not.
Well, this is the tariff wars that are going on, and it has caused a lot of turmoil. I think in the end of the day, these countries are going to cave into Trump's demands, but it hasn't been easy. And look, I think most of what Trump has done have been absolutely fantastic for the economy, but it's clear that the tariffs have taken the economy has taken a hit from the tariffs. There's no doubt about it. We would be growing a lot faster had it not been for the tariffs. And Trump gets mad at me for not being a big fan of his tariffs, but we'll see how this turns out. Canada, I don't know. You think Canada's gonna cooperate?
I don't know. He threatened to merge Canada to the U.S. again with Carney in the White House yesterday. So he's still trolling them to their face, though, which I appreciate.
He's threatening to force them to speak English.
To make English the official language of Canada. We can't get it done here. Maybe we could get it done up north. Okay.
It is funny because it's funny, but it's also serious that every time he tries to make a deal with Canada, he says, and by the way, why don't you become the 51st state?
Yeah.
That's just like poking a finger right in their nose. So that doesn't help.
Well, he recognizes something that Earl Long said famously about politics, Stephen Moore, which is people don't want good government, they want good entertainment. So at least we have that.
True. Well, he's good at that.
Stephen Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again. Steve, thanks as always.
Okay, Dan, have a great day. Take
care. See you. And he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Anthony and John here from Bionic Auto Parts, proud clients of Signature Bank. We deliver high-quality, recycled, and remanufactured auto parts to Chicago and Milwaukee. Our mission is simple: provide parts safely, reliably, with great customer satisfaction.
We process over 350 vehicles a month. With big banks, everything took forever. Layers of approvals and endless delays. At Signature Bank, one call got it done. Whether it's lending, deposits, or treasury management, they deliver fast. Signature Bank made us feel like family. That's a partnership we deeply appreciate.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Many of you have been asking about Freedom Summit, our annual extravaganza, and tickets are on sale. Tickets are now on sale for Freedom Summit 2025. That is happening Saturday, November 8th at the Westin Northwest in Itasca, where we've had it the last several years. This year, Freedom Summit will be headlined by Dr. Gifted Hands himself, Dr. Ben Carson. He's a good dude. He's fun. Former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, you'll recall, Dr. Ben. Also by our very own Scott Jennings, who was on these airwaves in addition to CNN. It's a full day of keynote speeches, book signings, breakout sessions, much more. If you haven't been to Freedom Summit, then you need to join us this year. And if you're a Freedom Summit veteran, we'd love to have you join us again, of course. Every year, the event sells out, so do not wait to get your tickets. Go to freedomsummitchicago.com, freedomsummitchicago.com. We have tickets available at several different price points to fit your budget. So get your tickets and make the plans to join us at Freedom Summit Chicago 2025 on November 8th at the Western Chicago Northwest in Itasca. Again, to get those tickets, freedomsummitchicago.com.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call now at 800-533-6605 for a free consultation. For 17 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and a Christian-owned company. Don't get stuck in the endless cycle of payments. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Christian-owned Total Financial Freedom now at 800-533-6605. That's 800-533-6605. 800-533-6605.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
Are you tired of tech headaches slowing your business down? Unique Computing Solutions has been the go-to IT team for businesses in Illinois and Northwest Indiana for nearly 30 years. Your systems should be running smoothly, your data secured, and your communications streamlined. Visit our website today at uniquecomputingsolutions.com. That's uniquecomputingsolutions.com. Your IT challenges solved.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews in Family Legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Hello, this is Alistair Begg. In September of 2026, I'll be teaching the Bible as we cruise through the Norwegian fjords. I'd love for you to join me. Call 855-565-5519 or visit deeperfaithcruise.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
I see Bob Ross paintings are going to be auctioned off to try to prop up PBS. See if the Happy Trees can underwrite PBS now that taxpayer funds have been pulled. Love Bob Ross. Good Netflix documentary on him. Anyway, coming up at, this will be interesting, 8:08, the founder of In Real Life Movie Club. We'll talk about that at 8 o'clock. It's now 8 a.m., AM 560 WIND.
He thinks Chicago's mayor should be put in jail. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President Trump just posted that on Truth Social, accusing Brandon Johnson of failing to protect ICE officers. But the mayor says it's the president acting unconstitutionally with orders
to occupy our cities with the military. It's unconscionable. It's unthinkable.
The president also wrote that Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, also a Democrat, should also be jailed. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche just told Fox.
When you're a local leader and you establish ICE-free zones, you are putting law enforcement in danger. When you are a governor and you're mocking and criticizing federal law enforcement, you are putting law enforcement in danger.
Now, hundreds of National Guard troops Texas's Republican governor sent have arrived in the Chicago area as the president also tries to federalize Illinois Guard members. The state is challenging that in court. And later this hour, James Comey will show up at a federal court in Virginia to be arraigned. Next hour, the former FBI director faces 2 charges, including lying to Congress over 2020 testimony related to the 2016 probe into the Trump campaign and Russian election interference. Deputy Attorney General Blanche also told Fox.
We completely got rid of the weaponization that took place over the past 4 years in this Department of Justice. And now we are applying the law equally to everybody. And that means rooting out corruption.
Democrats say the president is targeting his critics, and Comey claims he's innocent. For an 8th day, the government is shut down as the fight continues over funding.
The bottom line is very simple. We're fighting for the American people.
Democratic Senate Leader Chuck Schumer keeps demanding health care provisions be included in the bill, but Republican Senator John Kennedy tells Fox it's just politics.
Senator Schumer he's nervous as a pregnant nun about losing his re-election.
Now, the Trump administration plans to tap into tariff revenue during the shutdown to keep funding the Women, Infant, Children Nutrition Program. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It is 64 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. A suspected Chicago gang leader is accused of offering a bounty to kill a Border Patrol commander. Fox's Jeff Manasso reports.
The Department of Homeland Security says Latin Kings leader Juan Espinosa Martinez, a criminal from Mexico, was taken into custody Monday in suburban Chicago, accused of soliciting the murder of U.S. Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bovino. DHS sharing alleged screenshots Espinosa Martinez made on social media, appearing to place bounties on Bovino.
We're seeing this more and more nationwide as President Trump and Secretary Noem and the men and women of ICE, Border Patrol, and our other federal partners to continue to go after these gang members, murderers, and rapists.
Madison Sheehan, Deputy ICE Director, saying the department's mission remains undeterred. In Chicago, Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
We're now on day 9 of the partial federal government shutdown, and the impacts are being felt by travelers. Officials say Chicago's O'Hare has been experiencing delays due to staffing shortages that are directly related to that shutdown. Now, O'Hare's not the only airport experiencing delays. Newark, Burbank, and Denver all have reported staffing delays due to the lack of workers on site. And Chicago has once again been named the best big city in America. This is the 9th year in a row that Chicago's been honored by Condé Nast as the best of the best. Condé Nast readers praising the Windy City for its diversity, inclusivity, culture, and of course, its food. News is a service of Salem Surround, providing your business with industry-leading digital marketing strategy designed to surround your target audience and drive action. Go to surroundchicago.com today. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but time now for the AM 560 Business Beat.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks this morning looking ready to bounce back from Tuesday's sell-off, led by investors worried about big tech and AI spending. Mortgage demand overall weakened again last week, even as interest rates fell slightly. Total mortgage application volume dropped 4.7% compared with the previous week, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association's seasonally adjusted index. Those still in the market, though, for a mortgage are looking increasingly to somewhat riskier adjustable rate mortgages. And another sign of caution from the American consumer, credit card spending falling again. The amount of revolving credit outstanding, which is mainly credit cards, fell in August for the third time this year. That decline was offset by a small rise in non-revolving credit, such as car loans and student loans. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Lillian Wu, invested in you.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th at Westin Chicago Northwest and Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Aid for Women, Breakthrough Ideas, and by attorney Stephen A. Leahy at Opum Tax Advocates.
Sean Thompson here, and I'm with attorney Bert Hochberg from the law firm of Schiller, Ducanto, and Fleck. We're talking about divorce arbitration. This is not really a new, or is it a new, innovative way to go through divorce?
Arbitration has been around for decades. It's completely legit and available to resolve divorce cases. The litigants and their lawyers sign an arbitration agreement. They identify what the issues are, and we set up dates, and we determine what experts and witnesses there may be. Arbitration is a hearing, a trial that is intended to finish a case efficiently with limited appeal, with a binding decision, and it's confidential, so it has some great characteristics.
I think it's a unique alternative to divorce. For more information, please visit sdflaw.com and type Bert Hochberg into the search box. That's sdflaw.com or call direct 773-255-6150.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. A major U.S. ally dedicated to religious pluralism and social and civil rights like few others was victim to one of the most major and gruesome terrorist attacks recorded. That attack came from a movement of bloodlust and an ideology mortally opposed to social and civil rights. On the 2-year commemoration of that attack, college students and adults alike protested on behalf of the terrorist movement. The ally, Israel. The terrorists, Hamas. And from campuses to the streets, massive rallies using Hamas insignia and propaganda marched for Hamas. Only 2 years after the slaughter of innocents, where over 50 Americans were killed and taken hostage, it's difficult to understand such sympathy for the devil on our campuses and in major cities. But then again, 2 years ago, a major poll showed 30% of Gen Z thought Osama bin Laden was a force for good. Treating any of this as an education issue is wrong. Such sympathies for the demonic are not education problems. They reveal a massive moral crisis.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion. That's billion with a B. Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words micro. That's pound 250, micro.
Surprise! Your expenses this month were way higher than you expected! Also, you forgot to renew your website domain and now you're in a bidding war!
You should see the look on your face!
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Plus, the fridge died in the break room and now everything smells weird!
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hatchburg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Inbound on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose is 18. Outbound getting busy at 30. Inbound Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange, 38 minutes. Outbound 47. The Eisenhower slows down inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 42 minutes. Outbound is 34. The Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore is 48 minutes. Outbound is 25. And the Dan Ryan is very slow from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 36 minutes. Outbound looks good at 12. Watch out for a collision on the northbound Tri-State at the Grand Avenue curve, and then you have another crash on the Jane Addams. Eastbound at Barrington Road, delays go all the way back to Route 25. This report is a service of Turnkey. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will bring brilliant sunshine with a high of 64. Tonight, expect clear skies with a low of 46. Tomorrow will offer abundant sunshine and a high of 65. On Friday, anticipate some sun followed by increasing clouds, reaching a high of 68. Saturday will be sunny with a high of 68. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Destination Retirement with Robert Kuhn. Sunday mornings at 11. Sponsored by Kuhn Capital Partners in Naperville.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Short people got no reason. Short people got no reason. Short people got no reason to live.
That's not me saying it. That's AOC. Although I have made mention of the fact, it's just a fact, that we have a lot of Shetland politicians in Illinois. For 3 decades, we had a Chicago mayor who couldn't ride the American Eagle at Great America. Couldn't eclipse Yosemite Sam's arm to be tall enough to ride that ride. No longer the case. So we made a vast improvement there. But AOC recently went on a bit of a riff on Stephen Miller. And this is what she had to say before she had to walk it back because, identitarianism.
They are scrapping and grasping at straws because they have nothing else. Laugh at them. Stephen Miller is a clown. I've never seen that guy in real life, but he looks like he's like 4'10". And he looks like he is angry about the fact that he's 4'10". And he looks like he is so mad that he is 4'10", that he's taking that anger out at any other population possible. Like, laugh at them. Laugh at them. Yes, they are dangerous. Yes, we're here to be strong for one another. We need to expose the lies. We need to never let off the gas when it comes to protecting one another, exposing the lies, documenting things. We're seeing this too, right? And so I think it's very important to be able to hold multiple things at once. And we've seen this work in other cultures. We've seen this work in other countries. Yes, the resistance to authoritarianism is very real. The risks of abuse of power are very real. But one of the most powerful cultural things that you can do to a political movement that is predicated on the puffery of insecure masculinity. That's what this is about. This is when people talk about toxic masculinity. More than it, like, let's put that to the side for just 1 second. This is about insecure masculinity. And one of the best ways that you can dismantle a movement of insecure men is by making fun of them.
Yeah.
By having secure men who aren't afraid of successful people around them, who are good dads, who have strong values, also participating in that as well.
Of course. Of course. I am taking her advice to laugh at insecure, small-minded people. Thank you for that. It was refreshing. But now, I found that to be, as I said, terribly enjoyable. But, I don't have to answer to the identitarian mobsters the way that AOC does, being one. So after that, she had to offer this clarification.
I don't believe in body shaming. I am talking about how big or small someone is on the inside.
Of course. That's
Like,
what you
for
mean,
example,
4'10".
I have
4'10"
no
on the
idea
inside.
how tall Andrew Tate is. No idea at all.
Andrew Tate.
But that guy looks to me like 5'3".
On the inside.
Like 5'3", 5'4". Whereas, physically, men of smaller stature can come across. They are spiritually 6 foot. If you're a good dad, if you stand with women, if you're not belittling immigrants, you're like, 6'3", spiritually. I don't know. Am I being problematic? And he looks like he is so mad that he is 4'10".
Am I being problematic? No. You're being entertaining. How tall are you on the inside? Tiny dancer. That'd be the next question. If Tiny Dancer ever agreed to come on the show, that's what I would ask him. I know you're small in stature, but the real question, how tall are you in the inside? Are you a sufferer of insecure masculinity, or are you a secure masculinity kind of guy who's very, it's like a Stretch Armstrong on the inside? That's one theory. Here's another theory about masculinity from Dana White, of UFC infamy. Do we have Dana White? Where's Dana White? There he is.
You don't think there's this cultural movement? It's a lot of guys. They call it the manosphere. You're one of the leaders.
You talk about knowing your fan base and knowing who they are.
Who are they?
18 to 34-year-old males and growing. We're global. We are definitely unapologetically masculine.
Can this bubble over to too much? When you hear toxic masculinity.
What about insecure?
You tell me.
Insecure masculinity.
You just said it. What's the definition of toxic? How can somebody be too masculine? Is that a possibility? Can you be too masculine?
You tell me.
No.
You think so?
The answer is hell no.
That's Dana White on 60 Minutes. So I guess, I'll incorporate insecure masculinity with toxic masculinity as two sides of the same coin. So there's your answer. But I want the men out there to think about this. You may be tall in stature, but small on the inside. You may be small in stature, but tall on the inside. Another deep thought, dizzying philosophical construct from one of the leading lights on the left there, AOC. Bask in it.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Is your company's cybersecurity ready to handle today's cyber attacks? Some companies never recover due to the fallout. Listen to this. In 2021, a ransomware group called DarkSide gained access to Colonial Pipeline through a compromised password. The impact? $4.4 million paid in ransom. In 2017, Equifax had a massive breach which ended up costing over $700 million in settlements. Large companies from Target, Yahoo, to small businesses, including medical practices, have suffered major losses due to cyber attacks. Many have had to close their doors. Access One is here to protect your business 24/7. Cybersecurity isn't just about IT. It's about protecting your survival and customer trust. If you're concerned about your cybersecurity, get a free baseline cybersecurity assessment from AM560 sponsor Access One. Call 1-800-804-8333 or fill out the contact form at accessoneinc.com. Access One has been protecting Chicago businesses for 3 decades. That's 1-800-804-8333 or accessoneinc.com.
AM560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. People listening to the show know that I'm a pretty active cinephile. In fact, I've got a recommendation for you. I just watched it. The new Paul Greengrass film starring Matthew McConaughey and America Ferrera entitled The Lost Bus. You know, Paul Greengrass he's a genius filmmaker. He did all the Bourne Identity movies. He did United 93. Always good. And I'm not a Matthew McConaughey fan, generally speaking, but Lost Bus is good. We're checking out. Which brings me to our next guest, Annie Roney, the founder of the In Real Life Movie Club. She wants to bring film fans back to the theater and people back to connecting with one another rather than just being like me and watching everything on streaming services in isolation. Well, let's talk a little bit about this idea. Annie Roney is the founder, again, of In Real Life Movie Club. She joins us now. Annie, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. 25 years of industry experience to the In Real Life Movie Club. Industry experience, please detail that.
Yeah, well, let me start by telling you a little bit about the IRL Movie Club, which is a nonprofit set up about a year ago as a new way to distribute documentary films that you might not see on a streamer. The IRL Movie Club comes after myself being in the industry for 25 years of working with like some of the best documentary filmmakers in the world and getting their films out and distributed both in the United States and really all across the world. So the experience it comes from that world. And I've had so many years of seeing films in a film festival, which is such a treat. And there's usually a Q&A after, which can be wonderful. But what we wanted to do is create something for the audience. So instead of watching a film and having a Q&A where you're sort of talked at, our concept was to let the audience have time to talk to each other. Because oftentimes we don't have time to integrate a film that we've just seen. We sort of see it, or we see it and there's a Q&A and then we leave, and we don't talk to each other. And that integration and building community, that's where that starts.
So I like the best the documentarians. Are we talking about like some relatively known brand names like I don't know, Errol Morris or Davis Guggenheim or people like that, or who are we talking about?
Yeah, those people, Alex Gibney, Marshall Curry. We've in our for-profit life, we've worked with over 18 documentary films that were nominated for an Oscar over consecutive years. So those are the kinds of films and filmmakers who are sort of our family. And so we're always looking at what's coming down the pipeline. Now with IRL, we're really looking for films that we feel like are in the public interest, and audiences can really benefit from experiencing the film and then integrating it through conversation afterwards.
So, like, is there a political point to this? And by that, I mean, like, just some of the coverage I've read about this club. Let me give you an example of a lead-in to a description of the club. Amid rising political and social polarization, organizations like In Real Life Movie Club are working on bringing people together by facilitating open communication. So is the point to tackle salient issues of the day and encourage people with different political positions to come and consume the content and talk about the content? Is that part of it?
Well, in a way, I'll tell you a little bit about the history, and that will answer the question. We founded the club last summer as we were coming towards the next presidential election. And we were very involved in distributing a documentary called Join or Die, Why You Should Join a Club. And you can now see it on Netflix. It's a film about Robert Putnam and his book, Bowling Alone. And the film very, in a playful way, demonstrates that when we stop gathering in community, in any kind of community, democracy starts to fail. So this whole idea of social capital is crucial for democracy. So as we saw, on the one hand, streamers pulling away from challenging documentary content, and we saw this election coming with so much division, that film really inspired us to start this club. In fact, it was our first offering last year on International Day of Democracy. So the idea is not to solve any particular problem with one film. The idea is becoming a member and being part of this is giving space for meeting strangers and having conversations. And as Robert Putnam showed us, you can be talking about the weather. The important part is that we are connecting with a stranger and having a civil conversation about something. We are giving the audience something to talk about. If they want to talk about what they just saw, they usually do. But the idea is just that they turn around and talk to their seatmates. And it's been really cool to see how people kind of come in, in their own little silos, and they're walking into the theater, as we all do, and we get in our seats and we're with maybe our best friend. But at the end of the film, when we make time for conversation, everyone is turning around, smiling, literally reaching over an aisle to say hello to someone, and now they have something they can talk about because they've just watched the same film.
And so, how are the films selected?
The films are selected. It's complicated. It's as I said, it's definitely looking for a film that meets the moment. Though we have to plan these things 3 to 4 months in advance, so sometimes that's a challenge, and understanding when the rights are available to put that film in theaters nationwide. And I do want to say this is a nationwide club, so the film will be showing this Sunday across the country in 70 different places.
And so are these like theaters that have more of a reputation for being art houses, like, I don't know, like the Music Box or something in Chicago?
Yeah, in Chicago, you'll find it at the Wayfarer Theater in Highland Park. And
Okay.
yes, that is part of our mission as a nonprofit. So we want to sort of thank the independent art house theaters that have remained, since COVID. And they're still here because they're very good at creating community. And part of what our mission at IRL is to give each of those theaters a grant for being part of our club. So we give the theaters a grant, we give the filmmaker a grant, and then we subsidize the tickets. They're only $5.
And so how do these groups populate? Somebody who lives on the north side of Chicago says, I want to start a club. I've got 10 friends, and they contact you at irlmovieclub.org, and you sanction them or something like this, or you find a place where they can view the films that have been selected?
Well, exactly. They do. They can go to our website and they can sign up to be a member. By the way, membership is always free. So, and we don't spam you, but just join us, become part of the club, and we'll let you know when the next film is and where. And if you don't see the film in your neighborhood, you can tell us, and we'll go get the closest theater to you.
And I mean, and this is all like, I mean, just I don't want to get into your pockets here, but I know it's a nonprofit, so it's funded through philanthropic dollars. Is this grant funding, or is this particularly interested high net worth individuals that are underwriting this, or what's the model to sustain these clubs and the ticket prices and all that?
Yeah, the model is just that. It's some fundraising. So there have been high net worth individuals. There's also been a couple really wonderful foundations. The Heartland Foundation is one that was started by Steven Spielberg and Kate Capshaw, which has a very similar mission to ours. It's supporting storytelling that can really improve our connectivity and our democracy. So it's a perfect fit. But also small donations. So on our webpage, we're just delighted to get a $5, $10 donation, and if you're called to do that can happen there. But we want to keep bringing these kinds of films to audiences because we know firsthand that streamers and broadcasters right now are not taking on these really important films.
Annie Roney is the founder of In Real Life Movie Club at irlmovieclub.org, irlmovieclub.org, if you want to get in on the action and watch some of these documentaries that we've been describing, have conversations with strangers, like she said. Annie Roney, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck with the project.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
And she joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Honey, why does it take you so long to get ready?
Because I've got one tiny sink. I'm trying to balance makeup on the back of the toilet, and the mirror's always fogged up.
Sounds like a circus act.
Exactly. And I perform every morning.
At Forever Remodeling, we create bathrooms that fit your life, not the other way around. From extra storage to spa-like showers and timeless finishes, we make your mornings easier. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com.
Dinesh D'Souza went into a war zone to make his new film, revealing never-before-seen footage of October 7th. The film offers a new way to understand Israel, radical Islam, anti-Semitism, and biblical prophecy.
Could the fate of the world be tied to this place?
Based on Jonathan Cahn's international bestseller, Dinesh D'Souza's new film, The Dragon's Prophecy, is in theaters October 6th and 8th. Streaming and DVDs available October 9th. See the trailer and order your DVDs at thedragonsprophecyfilm.com.
Fellow patriots, our neighbors in Manteno are under attack. Governor Pritzker handed over $536 million of your tax dollars to Goshen, a company affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party and under congressional investigation. Now Goshen wants to use toxic chemicals near family homes. But the concerned citizens of Manteno are fighting back in court, and they need our help. Join us Tuesday, October 28th at Olympia Fields Country Club for an evening with Gordon Chang, a leading expert on China's threats to America. Cocktails at 6, dinner at 7. Every dollar raised goes directly to their legal battle against the CCP-affiliated Goshen. Get your tickets now at breakthrough-ideas.com. Learn more at our Dump Goshen webpage. This is our fight, Illinois. American taxpayers shouldn't fund Communist China's expansion onto American soil. Get involved today. Breakthrough Ideas and the Coalition for a Prosperous America are sponsoring this event and standing with concerned citizens everywhere.
AM 560, The Answer.
Text from 847, invite J.B. Pritzker to the movie so I can talk to him. Yeah, if I start a In Real Life movie club in Chicago, or even closer to his horse farm in Wellington, Florida, I'm not sure he would attend. But, I think you could translate that as I could. If you want to talk to left of center moviegoers, then In Real Life Movie Club is for you. I think that actually could be kind of fun, as long as she picks, compelling documentaries. The first couple I saw on the list actually pretty good. So anyway, all right, we'll exit the world of art and go back to the world of politics when Will Chamberlain, senior counsel at the Article 3 Project, joins us at 8:38 to talk about the exchange between Bondi and Durban yesterday and the deployment of the National Guard to cities like Chicago. That's 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 65 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Part of the National Guard troops deployed to Illinois have arrived amid immigration enforcement operations. Fox's Mike Tobin reports.
The Texas National Guard has arrived southwest of Chicago at an Army training facility near the city of Joliet, despite emotional opposition from Chicago leadership.
This president is determined to federalize the National Guard and to occupy our cities with the military. It's unconscionable. It's unthinkable.
The Illinois Department of Revenue is warning taxpayers about a new nationwide text message scam. The phishing scheme involves unsolicited messages that appear to come from a state revenue or treasury agency claiming that a tax refund has been processed. The Department of Revenue says unsolicited messages that claim to come from the agency should be ignored and considered fraudulent. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. What if you could save an average of 90% for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back? With a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, it is possible. Check if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th in Weston, Chicago, Northwest, and Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Lutheran Life Communities, Virago, and by Senior Helpers of Naperville.
If you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance your existing home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Zeke, self-employed, called to refinance his $1 million home after being rejected by 3 lenders. Zeke contacted me after hearing me explain how I helped another self-employed listener who was also rejected due to lack of income. I helped Zeke secure an $800,000 cash-out refinance using the 12-month average of Zeke's business bank statements. Let's review. Zeke called to refinance his home after being rejected by 3 lenders, and we helped Zeke refinance using the deposits into his business bank statements. If you're self-employed and want to work with mortgage professionals who understand self-employed borrowers, call Team Hochberg at 855-563-2843 or visit 560even.com. Team Hochberg's helped thousands of self-employed listeners, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 and that website you love, 560even.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 112461.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
I got behind on my taxes. It's a horrible feeling.
He was in denial.
And when I got those letters from the IRS, he wanted to act like they didn't exist.
Finally, Dan turned to Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan's head spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real, and I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
If you're worried about what's going to happen with the IRS, stop worrying. Make the call now.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. We have a full closure on the outbound Bishop Ford, all because of a car fire between Stony Island Feeder and 111th Street, and the delays begin right around the Dan Ryan. Now, the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne interchange is 33 minutes. Outbound still looking good at 14. Inbound on the Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore is 38. Outbound is 21. The Eisenhower inbound slows down from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 42 minutes. Outbound is 30. Inbound on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose is 17. Outbound is 23. And the Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Byrne interchange is 45. Outbound is 47. This report is sponsored by Macy's Backstage. Macy's Backstage is a whole department inside your Macy's store where you can find the latest fall looks, all for under $30 with new arrivals every day. You'll never know what amazing deals you'll find. Don't wait. Find a location at Macy'sBackstage.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but But now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will feature brilliant sunshine with the high of 64. Tonight will be clear with a low of 46. Tomorrow, expect abundant sunshine and a high of 65. On Friday, we'll see some sun before it turns cloudy with a high of 68. Saturday will bring sunshine with a high of 68. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So Trump posting on Truth Social, Chicago mayor should be in jail for failing to protect ICE officers. Governor Pritzker also. All right, we got everybody trying to arrest everybody. BLM Brandon said yesterday federal agents who break the city law, like the city law against what? Standing on public property in the city of Chicago? Okay. They should be charged with a crime. So we're going to have CPD arrest ICE, and then ICE is going to arrest Brandon Johnson and J.B. Pritzker. No, okay. Obviously, one is in a much stronger position than the other, and it's not Brandon Johnson. Anyway, nobody's... Well, certainly I don't want Brandon Johnson or J.B. Pritzker arrested. Now, if they flout the law, then you're going to present federal law enforcement with no choice. I suspect they are smart enough not to do that. And the last thing you want to do is sort of make them a cause celeb if there is not a compelling basis to do so. It's more just a statement about their flouting of federal immigration law, their complete lack of respect, lack of concern for federal law enforcement officers, for local law enforcement officers, for law-abiding citizens, pretty much everybody. This was in part the topic of conversation, pointed as it was, between Saka Durbin, our senior senator, outgoing, sadly. He, of course, got wind yesterday that the members of the Texas National Guard on their way to Illinois, and they've arrived. They are at the Reserve Base Training Center in Elwood in Will County, a pending deployment. And the exchange about that between Durbin and AG Bondi in committee yesterday.
The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
Zing. She wasn't done.
Your city has a murder rate 5 times higher than New York's. 571 homicides last year. If you were serious about protecting your people, you would be asking this administration for help. You're saying that we're coming into your state and your city. We're there to help make America safe and Illinois safe, whether or not you want to.
Well, right. So there's sort of two issues, of course, under the heading public safety. One is American citizens committing crimes in the streets of Chicago and elsewhere. Layers to that with the no cash bail law in force in the state. And then there are people in this country illegally, and ICE presence in Chicago to enforce federal immigration law and remove people here illegally, particularly those that pose public safety threats. But just on the matter of the domestic piece of this, you know, if you're a United States Senator, wouldn't you want to be offering the news to your state and to a major metropolitan area in your state, the residents of that area, that Marsha Blackburn offered about Memphis, Tennessee in the same committee hearing?
We had 503 arrests with the FBI task force in July and August. We've added, with your Memphis Safe Task Force, just last week, 321 arrests, 83 firearms that were seized, 7 missing children that were recovered. 28 known gang members have been arrested, and the list continues to grow. We've also gotten over 120 federal indictments. But this is really quite a success story, and I think that cities like Portland and Chicago are missing out by not having this coordinated, focused effort. And the fact that there are 13 federal and state agencies working together to make Memphis safe again.
Yeah, it's even worse when it comes to Pritzker and to a lesser extent Brandon Johnson than hating Trump more than you love your constituents. It's pursuing your political ambitions is more important to you than providing for the safety of your constituents, right? Because that's what's really going on here. Both Pritzker and to a lesser extent Johnson believe their ambitions are best served by being iconoclastic in the direction of all things Trump administration related and competing with one another to see who can be the most outrageous, the most reckless, rhetorically and through executive orders, like, the ice-free zone of Chicago. That's the interest they're going to serve at the expense of additional resources that could provide for enhanced safety. That's the real indictment, it seems to me. For more on the topic, pleased to be joined by Will Chamberlain, who's the senior counsel at the Article 3 Project. Will, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So the deployment of the National Guard, of course, this is being litigated in federal district court in Oregon and federal district court in Illinois. Do you expect that the Trump administration will be successful in arguing that the president does have the power, even over the objection of a state's governor, to deploy the National Guard for the purposes of protecting those enforcing federal immigration law?
Yeah, this won't be a close question. Under 10 U.S.C. 12406, the president can call it the National Guard when there's rebellion or a risk of rebellion, or when he feels that his current personnel are unable or hindered in enforcing federal law. I think you could probably make both of those claims plausibly, and certainly the latter claim plausibly in both Chicago and Portland. I don't think this will be a close question. I think it probably gets slapped down by the Ninth Circuit, this recent ruling in Portland by a local federal judge there. And if it gets to the Supreme Court, there's just no question. President Trump has this authority, and the Supreme Court's not going to start a constitutional crisis saying that he doesn't have the right to protect federal personnel in federal facilities with federal troops.
And is that the bright line? It's got to be in furtherance of enforcement of federal law enforcement and those enforcing federal law. Is that the bright line? So if you get into being part of an FBI task force that is trying to sort of level up local charges to being federal charges with respect to U.S. citizens who committed crimes, whether it's in Memphis or Portland or Chicago, then that's where the line gets crossed?
I think so. It's the idea that the National Guard can't just be. You don't just get to randomly impose martial law, but that's not what he's doing.
Right.
For example, in Portland, he wanted to send up, all the complaining about, it's a federal takeover of the city. He was invoking the right to send 200 National Guard troops to Portland. That's not actually that many people, and the reason is because the problem is surrounding the ICE facility in Portland, where there's protests day by day, and it's making it very difficult to enforce the law there. So, and moreover, there's a limited number of personnel who work specifically on protecting federal buildings. It's called the Federal Protective Service, only about 1,000 such officers in the whole country. And they're working in Portland. There's like 100 of them working flat out 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week. They need a break. So this is all about, increasing the number of personnel, freeing up Federal Protective Service to do more of their actual law enforcement responsibility, arresting people, finding people, bringing them in for what they did on federal property, and also just letting them get some sleep.
Well, and in Portland, too, I assume sort of the local contextual factors would matter, although they didn't seem to matter to the district court judge in Oregon. But, we've all seen it in Portland, where Antifa and other professional agitators have attacked federal buildings, have firebombed federal buildings previously during COVID, the George Floyd, et cetera, the protest du jour. So it's not like this is sort of a bucolic urban center that is just experiencing its first level of civil unrest associated with ICE enforcing federal immigration law. We know who is in Portland, and we know what they've been doing for a long time. And so the idea of support for protection of federal property and for backing federal officers seems to be, that contextual factor seems to be important, just as the stand-down order that was given in Chicago over the weekend seems to be important.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this in Portland before. We know that there's like a certain amount of lawlessness in that city. It's also, things have gone really downhill. Crime is rampant, and you can tell how bad things are by the fact that Portland's had the most precipitous decline in commercial real estate prices in the country, I think. I mean, they can't give it away because it's just not safe on the streets. The people don't want to work in downtown Portland. They're stumbling over drug addicts and criminals. So that's a broader problem in Portland, but specifically you just have, daily lawlessness surrounding the ICE facility, and Portland police have abdicated their responsibility. They're like, we're not going to help you. And not only are we not going to help you, we're going to litigate against you to prevent you from bringing in additional resources to give your guys a break. I mean, it's actually really appalling when you think about it.
Yeah. I wanted to get your legal opinion on this other matter, this revelation this week by Republican senators, thanks to the work of Kash Patel as well as whistleblowers, that Jack Smith and company had obtained the phone records of sitting members of Congress, mostly senators, mostly Republican senators, and one Republican representative. Ron Johnson was on with Laura Ingraham last night. He talked a little bit about it and what the problems are starting with the FBI.
As it relates to the seizing of our phone records, who knew about it? Who approved it? Normally there'd be a very rigorous approval process going pretty high up in the chain, but they circumvented that by saying, well, these aren't subjects of our investigation, they're not targets. So they circumvented that. So this is an outrageous violation of the separation of powers. We need to know who knew what and when they knew it. Now, Laura, there are plenty of people still in the Jack Smith prosecution team that are still burrowed into the FBI. This only came to light because the agent who seized the records, who got them, basically used this to recertify in this CAST team. I mean, basically, it's a brag sheet. This was an accomplishment to recertify to be able to do the exact same thing again. So, happenstance, we had a whistleblower. By the way, we need more whistleblowers. We need more whistleblowers. That's how we found out about the associations they were targeted, including Senator Schmitt's Association of Attorneys General targeted by this FBI. So, again, this is out of control. The Biden administration, the Obama administration have weaponized government 10 times what Democrats are falsely accusing the Trump administration of doing.
So what can and should be done by Kash, by Pam Bondi, by these United States senators, Will?
I mean, I think it's, you want to investigate, go into detail about exactly who signed off on this, why, what their basis was, because he's right. There's a separation of powers issue here. I mean, it's, when one branch goes after another branch secretly, that's, there's a lack of respect there. I mean, you can think about it if the federal government, if the executive branch started randomly investigating the Supreme Court and tapping phones, that would be an obvious problem, obviously lawless and uniquely problematic because of the failure to respect a co-equal branch of government. So I think it's just you start off with a full investigation and then you look at whether there was a lawful predicate to go in and get this information out of the senator's phones. If there wasn't, then potentially you go after criminal prosecutions for the people who made the call.
And it would be surprising to you, wouldn't it, if this was unknown to Christopher Wray at the time?
Yeah, it would be very surprising. I think Chris Wray was, very involved in these investigations. I'd be very surprised if he didn't know about it. And I think that's another thing that can be done. You can bring him in to answer questions from Congress, and then and also have Kash or PM be there too. And so if Chris ever tries to say, "Oh, I can't discuss that, that's internal FBI communications," Kash or Pam can waive that for him and say, "No, answer the question or take the fifth."
Well, that would be a moment, wouldn't it be, to see? I'm getting down the way a bit, but to see two former FBI directors under federal indictment.
Yeah, it'd be pretty remarkable. Really, the FBI was such a mess for the last 8 years, completely focused on these political prosecutions. And political investigations, starting from I think almost the moment that Trump walked down the elevator.
And is there
this is the reckoning for that?
Yeah, well, Jack Smith. I mean, is this a prosecutorial discretion if he was sanctioned by a court to do this? Or, I mean, is this something where if he did this on his own, and I don't know how that would have happened exactly, but if he did this on his own, then does he have any legal or at least professional exposure?
He could. I mean, it's just if he was involved in making the decision and the decision was wrongful, he didn't have a lawful basis, then yeah, he has legal exposure.
Will Chamberlain is senior counsel at the Article 3 Project. Will, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And he joined us in the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Hi, this is Sean Thompson. When you take your grandkids to Disney, do they know what's in your investment portfolio? Do they even care? They're busy having a great time, and you're busy making memories. At Alpha Wealth Group, Tom Fortino understands the nuts and bolts of retirement planning. The investments, the stock market, taxes, Social Security, Medicare, and much more. But think about it. What are you really trying to do here? Is your goal to beat the S&P, or is your goal to make memories with your family? At Alpha Wealth Group, their goal is to give you the confidence to spend in retirement without the fear of running out of money. Call Tom Fortino and the team at Alpha Wealth Group to learn more. You can do it today. Call 630-864-6711. The number again, 630-864-6711. To schedule a no-obligation consultation. You can do it today online as well at alphawealthgroup.com. That's alphawealthgroup.com.
Speaking of Jim Comey, he's getting arraigned today. Today's arraignment day for Jim Comey. Maybe he or his attorney, our very own former U.S. Attorney Patrick Fitzgerald, will have something to say after said arraignment. Patrick Fitzgerald can do his, Lincoln is rolling over in his grave routine again or some such thing. You've heard me talk about Northridge Prep for years, but now I want you to hear from one of their recent graduates. His name is TJ Gorman. He just graduated second in his class in Marine Corps basic training. This is what he said about Northridge. I was blessed to attend Northridge, not only for the education, but for the values and principles my mentors instilled within me. The school taught us what it meant to be a leader and to lead through example, hard work, humility, and empathy. I thank God for Northridge. That's what makes Northridge Prep great for young men. The students are called to excellence to become true leaders. And these boys want to go to school each day. They love Northridge because they can be free to learn, to grow, and to be challenged. There's a real spirit of adventure on campus that you've just got to experience for yourself to appreciate the esprit de corps. For nearly 50 years, they've partnered with parents like no other school in the Chicagoland area. Today in our nation, we need more Northridge graduates to lead the way as men of intellect and character who love God, guys like TJ Gorman, men who put their values first. Their open house, Sunday, October 19th at 1 p.m. for boys grades 6 through 12. You can register for their open house at northridgeprep.org if you have a boy, grades 6 through 12, who might be interested in attending Northridge Prep. Again, the open house is Sunday, October 19th at 1 p.m., and you register at northridgeprep.org.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at truepowergenerator.com. That's TRUpowergenerator.com. Plus, 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty. Terms and conditions apply. Call for details. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
The Dinesh D'Souza Podcast.
This is the important thing to recognize about Trump is he's a very transactional guy. Trump will impose a penalty, and if you come to him and say, well, let's make a deal. This is the actual opposite of socialism. This is called cutting a deal to make something work. And I think that's all that goes through Trump's mind. Subscribe to the Dinesh D'Souza Podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, country star Zach Bryan is in a bit of hot water over his new song because of this line in the song, Bad News, about ICE. Here is a riff that he posted to Instagram, a snippet of the song Bad News.
Didn't wake up, dead or in jail. Some out-of-town boys been giving us hell. I got some bad news. I woke up missing you. My friends are all degenerates, but they're all I got. The generational story of dropping the plot. I heard the cops came. Cocky motherfuckers, ain't they? And ICE is gonna come bust down your door. Try to build a house, no one builds no more. But I got a telephone. Kids are all scared and all alone. The boss stopped bumping the rock, stop rolling.
Well, there you go. That ICE line is what has people upset. Luke Bryan has responded to people who are upset. You know, that took that to mean he's some sort of open borders acolyte. And don't forget, he's a Navy veteran. I mean, I'm just point of order. He said in response to people criticizing him and feeling like he's gone woke, I wrote this song months ago. I posted the song 3 months ago as a snippet. This shows you how divisive a narrative can be when shoved down our throats through social media. The song is about how much I love this country and everyone in it more than anything. When you hear the rest of the song, you'll understand the full context that hits both sides of the aisle. Everyone using this now as a weapon is only proving how devastatingly divided we all are. We need to find our way back. He goes on to say, I serve this country, I love this country, and the song itself is about all of us coming out of this divided space. I wasn't speaking as a politician or some greater than thou a-hole, just a 29-year-old man who is just as confused as everyone else. To see how much blank it stirred up makes me not only embarrassed, but kind of scared. Yeah, okay. I mean, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt in terms of just sort of pox on everybody's house, and he's trying to make sense of it. Although, yeah, I think he's maybe doesn't quite have the nuanced understanding that is not that difficult to obtain, but he does concede a confused 29-year-old. Okay. Interestingly, sort of fun. I don't think we have to take this overly seriously. I don't need we need to boycott Zach Bryan or anything. DHS posted a meme of ICE officers at work to the tune All Night Revival, which is also a Zach Bryan song. So a little bit of trolling Zach Bryan in response to that little seeming rip. But I think this is a controversy we can quickly move past, don't you? All right. Thank you for everyone who joined us on this edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. As always, appreciate the calls with great insights, adding to our conversation, the dialogue we have here. And we'll be back tomorrow, including with Eric Trump and Todd Lyons, the acting ICE director. So you want to tune in for that. It is now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
James Comey in federal court. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The ex-FBI director, President